Uh-oh. Let's give it a little bit. We're going to get people in and we're going to get the show started. Should be an interesting. Team Trump, I see you, man. Give us just a little bit to get everything ready, then we're going to do this. Yes. Yes, I do. Good evening, sir.
Hey, what's up?
How you doing, man?
How's that? I heard rumors that you've got new internet.
Yes, finger optics, yes.
You're such a fucking idiot. Gotta love that finger optic internet. It's lightning fast.
Yes, it's lightning fast.
Admir's got them fast fingers. That's why he's still married.
Anything new?
Yeah, I feel like Jen's been bullying me less than normal. I think that's been good.
You know, yeah, I agree with you. Jen is a bully. He's a major bully, Jen. It is what it is. Either you deal with it or you try to fight it, but I would not recommend that second option.
Yeah, or die, I think that's kind of your options.
Oh.
Yeah, or die, I think that's kind of your options.
Well, I don't like that option at all, bro. That option doesn't suit me well at all.
Oh, sorry, I swiped out for a second. Good to see Eric here, ready to go.
Yeah, Eric.
There's going to be a lot of yelling by Eric here shortly, but it'll be all right.
No, Eric, it won't. No, it won't. Him and I exchanged, opinions, and so we're gonna have a good night. No yelling, no over talking, and none of that. And get to the point, and we move on. It's kind of simple.
Okay, well, I haven't talked to Eric for a while. I haven't talked to his sweet grandmother. Who's a wonderful angel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So you ready to kick it off, or?
Yeah, whenever, man. I'm ready to go.
All right, Eric, you ready? I'm just gonna enjoy.
Tonight, while we're live, I'm gonna be playing Tropico, and I'm gonna build a communist island in Tropico. That's how tonight's gonna go.
You're gonna. I'm sorry. Say that again.
I don't want to. It's not very important. We can just ignore it. I'm not super interested in saying that again.
All right, what's up, Eric? How you doing, man?
What's up, brother?
Not too much.
What's on your mind?
Just enjoying the last 120 days so far.
Nice, dude. I figured you would.
You know it.
What's been your favorite part?
I don't think I got a favorite. I think I'm enjoying just all of it.
Just all of it. It's all good. All right.
Yeah, just because so much stuff just is happening so rapidly, you know?
What do you feel like's happening?
I feel like, for the
Admir, can you mute up while you're so we don't have to hear you eating?
No, my bad. My bad.
So there's just a lot of things. So what do you not like?
Mostly he just seems to be writing executive orders, and doing tariffs that don't make any sense. Like we're just losing a bunch of money. It seems for virtually no reason.
Do you know how much we've gained in tariffs?
No. Do you?
I believe it was $15 billion.
$15 billion in what?
In tariff revenues so far from reciprocal.
So taxes. So you've taxed people we've taxed Americans an extra $15 billion?
No, that's not correct. We've taxed other countries an extra $15 billion for selling their merchandise to us.
All right. Well, I think maybe I'd like to amend my answer. My least favorite thing about the first 120 days, or 10, or however many it is that somehow you guys still don't know how tariffs work. Because if there's been $15 billion paid in tariffs, all $15 billion were paid by American tariffs.
So do you see? That's what I'm saying. How do you not understand? We pay tariffs, they pay tariffs. How do you not understand? You tell
They
me.
They pay tariffs to their country, and we pay tariffs to our country. Tariffs are a tax paid by the citizens of the country who levy the tariff. So, like, if we put a tariff on Mexican avocados, Americans will pay that tariff. And if Mexico puts a tariff on American avocados, then Mexican citizens would pay that tariff.
Eric, RTP, that's not correct. I just read the comment. RTP, come on, man. You have to understand that. That. What do you mean, oh Lord,
brother? Can you just, before you argue this, will you just look up? Would you mind maybe just ChatGPT, Google, however, just say who pays? How would we ask this in a way that's going to give you the right answer? If you pay, are tariffs a tax on the citizens of the country who issue the tariffs? And you'll find out. Just so I can explain how this works.
So RTP, every company doesn't have to roll over their prices that they got charged higher for tariffs to the next consumer.
No, okay, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying either.
I just listen to somebody that orders their shit from China.
And did they pay a tariff when they picked it up?
Correct.
Were they an American citizen?
Correct.
So that's a tax on an American citizen and not China, right?
Okay, so listen. Let me finish. You can't just cut it off and get your point when you're not finished.
I'm just making sure we agree. It's not a point. I'm making sure you and I agree on the premise. So the premise that you're setting up here is that
wasn't because of our tariffs going up. That was because China raised them on us.
Wait, what was the?
Okay, because Trump raised them on China. China raised them on us.
What was the product?
That, right?
Yeah, but again,
I'm just getting this correct because you have to know that China raised it on us. So that means we will pay more for
China raised it on
them, right?
China raised it on their own citizens, bud. That's
RTP, how much are you purchasing from China to get your products raised? So that way you have to either raise the price for your customers or you don't have your customers eat it. You eat it.
What?
That's what I'm saying. You don't know how tariffs work.
No, well, I have no idea what you're saying. I don't understand the order of the words. The order of the words that you're using right now don't make any sense. I have no clue what you're saying. Let me explain it to you
so you get it.
Go ahead.
If you were spending $10,000 on merchandise,
yeah,
and the tariffs were going to up the price, double what you were paying before, so that would charge you $20,000, right?
No.
Okay, if China raised it to 145% or whatever they did,
it wouldn't affect me. It wouldn't affect me unless I lived in China.
It would have, dude. See, that's what I'm saying. You don't know how tariffs work.
No, look what. Let's just say China. Let's just say that I manufacture pencil erasers, and China puts a tariff of 100% tariff on pencil erasers from the United States.
So you think
hold on, let me just finish, please. Eric, I know you agreed with Admir not to be all interruptive. So I'm just going to lay this out. So if I'm going to ship these pencil erasers to China and China has 100% tariff on them, somebody from China is going to, let's say, just call me and order these erasers. And they're going to say, I want 100 erasers. And I say, great, they're $1 a piece. That'll be $100. And they say, great. And they send me $100 plus shipping and I ship it to China. Now, because China has a 100% tariff on that, when the person who ordered the erasers from me goes to pick it up at customs in China, the customs will charge him 100% tariff, and he will pay that tariff to the Chinese government. That's how tariffs work.
Oh my goodness.
I know, dude. This is what's crazy. Like half our country doesn't know how tariffs work.
Then how do we collect $15 billion in tariffs on taxing other countries?
We didn't tax other countries. That's just a lie that you've been told because you don't understand how tariffs work.
A lie you've been told.
Yes, brother. Google it right now. Just Google it right now.
RTP,
just Google if America.
You weren't going to shout.
If America, just Google.
Am I going to be able to respond?
You just did respond. This is my question now.
No, I'm
responding. Just Google, please. I don't have time for this. To be honest, this is crazy.
RTP.
Can you just Google if
Okay, hold
America
on a second, both.
issues a tariff,
Hold on, both. Hey, Eric. Um, so this is my only warning for either one of you guys. If you guys gonna have this conversation, cool. If not, then we can just end this. So if you can ask a question, let RTP respond. RTP, if he has a question, let him respond. Go ahead.
yeah, look, you're not going to believe me, and this is a really pointless argument. So instead of believing me, I want you to Google if the United States issues a tariff, who pays that tariff? And I want you to go Google it. You're going to believe me. You're just going to keep telling me I'm wrong. I'm going to tell you you're wrong. So just go Google it, please. I don't want to argue for 20 minutes on a definition of something that is so asinine that we even have to have this discussion.
So I just want to get this clear because I don't have a computer right next to me. I should have had that ready for this, but I don't. So I just want to get this clear. When Trump upped the tariffs on China, and then China upped them on us, China was just taxing their own people
Yes.
higher
Yes.
because we taxed our people higher.
Yes.
How does that make sense?
So what it does is like for China, for example, the tariffs were 100 and they got to 145%. So what China has started doing is China just stopped shipping goods because they basically the people on the American end are like, we can't afford 145% tariff. So there were all these goods just sitting there. And you can go look at this. You can go like search the boats or the ships that are sitting outside of Chinese ports. Yeah. So the reason that they're not shipping those is because Americans won't pay the tariffs when they get there. So the goods will never be accepted. And a lot of these things, it's like you pay on receipt. So people will have a pay on receipt system. And if the Americans never receive it, the items are just sitting there in the ocean. And so what happens is people will use tariffs as a way for leverage. For example, like for electric vehicles, Joe Biden put 100% tariff on Chinese electric vehicles.
And why did he do that?
Because their electric vehicles are better than ours, and so he wanted to make sure that people were still buying Tesla and Ford and G and they're better. No, they're. I mean, the world thinks
this is what Biden said.
The world thinks that they're better. I'm answering your question. Why are you interrupting while I'm answering your question?
Wait. Okay.
So Biden put 100% tariff on these Chinese electric vehicles because he didn't want the market to be flooded with either cheaper or better electric vehicles, but they would have hurt American manufacturing. So you put the 100% tariff on there, and now Americans aren't going to buy that cheaper car because they have to pay double.
Even if they were paid double, they'd still make profit.
Yeah, China would, but the people won't buy it for double. It's meant to keep Americans from buying that product.
Okay, so can I ask you when the U.S. started outsourcing jobs to China? What president sat down with the president of China and literally sold the middle class out to China?
Look, if you're talking about silicon, the manufacturing of microchips, that had nothing to do with anybody in politics. Honestly, it's capitalism. They were able to secure deals overseas with Taiwan and with China, where sometimes they used illegal like child labor, sometimes they used just regular labor, but the labor and the manufacturing was cheaper. So Americans who publicly trade their companies and have to consistently show growth, they can't make things in America and continue to see their stock prices rise because it would have to tighten up the amount of profit that they're making. And so they have to look for ways to get lower wages. And so blaming the offshoring of American jobs, blaming it on any politician would be silly. Politicians went along with it, but it was the capitalists' idea that there was like, hey, we need cheaper labor.
Okay, thank you for the answer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just tell you a few facts that I know, because a few things that I've asked you, you haven't really actually known the answer for. You sort of deflected and ran off with it.
No, I chose something specific. I chose microchips.
In 1996, Nancy Pelosi was in Congress crying that 10 million jobs went to China and it was hurting the middle class. And that was because of jobs were being outsourced to China for cheaper labor. And then In 2000, Bill Clinton went and sat down with the president of China and made it legal for businesses to shut down factories in the United States and outsource in China. So
That started in
there
like the
was a president
70s.
that
It started in
actually
like the 70s, bud.
it did start then, but it wasn't till Bill Clinton went and sat down with them till it really ramped up and went high speed. Okay. So
Sure. So those are trade negotiations, but that doesn't change. Like you and I are saying the same thing. I'm saying that
you said it wasn't
having trade,
nothing to
having
do with the
open. Can I
president.
finish, brother? Why are you all of a sudden
RTP.
cutting me off right when I start talking?
Because I have to
What
wait
are you
5
doing?
minutes. I
You
have to wait
stopped,
5
brother.
Hold
This is
on,
why.
hold
This is
on,
why.
hold on,
This
Eric.
is why I asked
Eric,
Admir.
hold on. Yeah, I got it. Eric,
So
you
I have to
can't.
wait
He
5
was
minutes to
very.
respond.
Hold on, Eric. You asked him a question. He was respectful to shut the hell up. Do the same thing, man. Just let him answer it, and I'll control it. He's not gonna monologue. I told you, I'm not picking sides. If you guys want to have this second one, I'm just gonna be gone. Don't do this, okay? So let him respond.
moderating a little bit better than
I am moderating, but that's why I'm
Admir's
taking over.
fault.
Yeah, I am moderating, Eric. Don't do this.
I don't know how.
There you
First
go.
of all, how did we get to this point? Like, you
It's over
decided
the
to just
tariffs.
abandon. You decided to just abandon the fact that you don't know what tariffs are, and Trump
I
doesn't know
do
what he's
know what
doing.
tariffs
And
are.
now we figured out a way to backpedal to Nancy Pelosi. Could we go back to the original subject where
Bro, the
you
whole
said
time I had a
that,
smoke shop for 4 years. My smoke
where
shop ordered
are you
everything.
interrupting already? Are you interrupting already, man?
I'm
Have
just
some
saying I didn't know
have
what
some
tariffs
fucking
are. I
self
can't respond to
control.
that. You
Have
say
some.
so many things.
I can't hear you, bud. I'm talking. Wait till I'm
just
done.
stop me, bro, because
So
you're
can
good
we
at that
go?
shit. No way
Hey,
to
Jesus
brother.
Christ.
argue
All
with
right,
you.
Eric. All
I
right,
told
so,
you.
all
I
right,
told you, man.
listen. I know what you're trying to do, so I'm going to do you a favor, Eric. I tried, so I'm going to do you a favor. I know you want to overtalk, so I do kick you and all that. I don't have the patience tonight. Tonight, I'm not in a good mood because my steak is not correctly done, so I'm already pissed off as it is. And you're just adding it on, man. So this is what I'm going to do. Next time, either one of you guys interrupt one another, I'm just going to kick you guys out. So go
Sure
ahead.
thing.
Yeah, do we want to go back to the Trump? Because you said you were happy with the tariffs, but so far you don't even know how they work. So I'm confused.
So this one I'm gonna kick you guys out.
Back to the Trump because like why you went to the 90s now. Could we just go back to the topic of are these tariffs working?
They
What are
are
they
working.
what are they accomplishing, Eric?
They accomplished us to get our 10% drop,
Or what?
our 10% tariff, because you think they charge China, and I think opposite. So, but are you just trying to? Okay, you think you're right, and I think I'm right.
But every economist in the world and everybody who knows what a tariff is agrees with me. And it's like you, four other people, and Donald Trump. And Trump's only still lying about it because he got caught not knowing what it is. Even though it's been explained to him, he's just not going to admit it. And so you're just still saying what he's saying. But it's silly. Like if there's Republicans in the chat, I promise you they're not agreeing with you right now. I promise no Republican here thinks that what you're saying about tariffs is correct. They all agree with me that that's what a tariff is. They're not going to agree with me on anything else. But nobody thinks what you think, bud. This is a crazy thing to think.
The funny thing is right after Trump said, "I'm putting tariffs on China," what happened to China?
They raised tariffs.
Did their stock market crash?
Yeah, so did ours.
Did their tariffs? But did we have a 9-day where it went up? Did you?
Yeah, so did they. So did they.
Theirs wasn't going up for 9 days.
It might not have been the same 9 days, but yeah, it's gone up.
Okay.
Is that what we do now? Is that like the mark of a country?
So what was hurting us so bad that we were the way China was? Because if you didn't have videos of China on your timeline, we were not hurting like China was. RTP.
What are you talking about? Where was China hurting?
Hurting on. So they weren't making any product. Nobody was working. People were in the streets crying. The banks were shutting down.
Bro, we make up 2% of their GDP. They were fine. It hurt them, but not near as much as it hurt us.
We're the big. Do you know I seen some dude in China in a warehouse saying that every $3 spent in China, $1 is from the United States.
But that's not true. How does that? I'm sure you did see that video, but that doesn't make sense considering we're 2% of their GDP. So maybe you just watched a video of a guy saying something. But maybe, Eric, please let me answer. Maybe you just saw a video of a guy saying something, but if you want to look at statistically, we make up 2% of their GDP. You're talking about 33%. Of course, that number's not correct. Stop believing shit that you see just because you see it.
Bro, so who buys all their shit, RTP?
We buy 12%.
So when you go to Target,
and pre-Trump, we bought about 20%. And in fact,
you go to
if you
Target
look
and
at the
Walmart,
world,
how
I'm
much
still
stuff-
answering, bud. I'm still answering. If you look
All
at the entire world map, the United States is the #1 trade partner for basically 3 places: Canada, Central America, and the UK. And everybody else's biggest trading partner is China. They've surpassed us. We used to make up 20% of their exports. Now it's 12%. They saw this coming the first Trump administration, and they've been weaning themselves off of us while we have become more reliant on them. They have all the leverage here, and they have the added benefit of negotiating with an absolute moron.
Oh my goodness. See, that's what I mean, bro. It's cool. You just hate Trump, dog, and you don't.
I do, but I'm also right.
No, you're wrong.
All right, prove it.
All right, prove it. RTP.
Give me a definition of a tariff that's not your own.
Like I said, I know U.S. businesses, my wholesale place that has a whole warehouse that everything they order comes damn near 90% of it comes from China.
Okay.
They were still selling the same rolling trays, bro, at wholesale at $5. They never doubled the price on them.
Do you know? I don't
So
know
if
if
they
you
were
know.
paying double the price on tariffs, they didn't roll it over to the customer. They were eating it.
No, because there was a delay, right? The tariffs didn't go.
like
I'm
I
answering
said.
now. I'm answering now. It's
Well,
not
I'm
your
still
turn again. You don't
finishing.
get to start
finishing.
talking again right when I start talking.
Well, because you're
There's a
gonna
wait.
talk about
There's a time that you have to wait. And so when Trump announced the tariffs, there were already goods that were shipping. There were already goods en route. And your friend most likely works through a distributor. If they own a smoke shop, they probably are signed up with some big distributor. Be quiet, please. Some big distributor. And so these people are buying 6 months in advance. So the stuff that you're seeing in a smoke shop right now for rolling trays, that stuff has been in stock for 3, 4, 5, 6 months. You're not going to. In fact, we weren't even going to see the effects of the tariffs until I think it's next week. It might have been this week, but then they pushed them back. So we hadn't felt the effects of the tariffs right now. That's why you hadn't felt the effects of the tariffs yet. But they were coming, and that's why Trump did this last-minute extension.
So you just said we didn't feel the effects of tariffs, but I thought the U.S. felt the effects.
No, I didn't.
Hey, come on. You didn't hear him say
Come on, man. You really did say it, though.
Listen, bro, I'm
you
eating
didn't hear
my
him say
chocolate.
that the U.S. was affected by tariffs?
No, I'm eating my chocolate chip. Y'all can have it.
I guess you're not paying attention to this, or you are paying attention to this?
Why are you fighting with the moderator
hold on.
now, Eric?
I was asking him a question. He's the one that invited me to do this shit.
Yeah, hold on, Eric. My only job is if one of you guys overtalks one another, to shut both of you guys up. That's my only job. I think
So
you
you're
guys
not
can handle
listening
it.
to this?
No, I don't need to. I'm here to shut him up, and I'm here to shut you guys up.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So, okay, what about the 4 most wanted on the FBI 10 top 10 FBI most wanted? 4 of them have already been arrested in the first 120 days.
Cool.
So you don't think that's a good thing?
Yeah, that's fine. I don't think the president should get credit for that. That's crazy. Why would the president get credit for that?
Because his administration is actually going after.
Is he out there investigating? He's out there tracking down the bad guys himself?
No, you know who is.
Kash Patel?
Not even.
Not even. Oh, he's not leading the FBI? So not him. So who is it?
He might be leading the FBI, but ICE and a lot of other people are.
ICE isn't the FBI, you silly goose.
I didn't say they were.
You just said ICE would be the ones tracking down the FBI's top 10 list.
I said FBI and ICE are working together to take out the criminals. Okay, and for the top 10, I'm glad you think it's funny, bro.
I do, dude. This is silly. This is just like, you're just saying shit. Like, this is like you're just reading your timeline. This is like talking to my grandpa and him telling me what he saw on Facebook today. I saw another video that said 4 of the top 10. Okay, cool.
Oh, really? So you didn't know that?
No, I didn't know that. That's not even very important to me.
Oh, that's not important to you. So,
not really.
Like I said, what's so important to you that he's done such a bad job?
I told you we were talking about tariffs, but you didn't want to talk about tariffs anymore.
Since you're correct on tariffs.
What's that?
Let's go to the next one since you think you're correct on tariffs.
Well, yeah, I mean, everybody here
Drop
knows I'm
this
right on
and go
tariffs.
to the next one. You could be right on it all you want. That's what narcissists do.
That's what narcissists. But you could just Google it, man. You could just Google it.
RTP, what are you upset with after tariffs? Because they affected us. So
honestly, I'm not really that upset with Trump. I'm more baffled by the people who are supporting him. Like, they're watching what he's doing, and you guys are celebrating it like he's doing something. He has accomplished virtually nothing. He's just written a bunch of executive orders. Congress is sitting on their hands. Everything he's put into existence so far as an executive order can be undone.
Why would a next president come in and undo it all?
Well, what's benefiting us?
30 to 80 pharmaceuticals.
An executive order can be
Why
excited
would they
about
want
what
to
he's done.
undo it?
It's not a thing yet.
That's just a thing. Order that is going to happen pretty quickly. You'll see.
Well, no, he signed an executive order saying he's going to negotiate using his leverage, which is exactly like that's already in the law, bud. Biden already put that into law. Trump just wrote an executive order for a law that already exists. I can't wait for his next one when he says that murder is a crime. Schmurder. That one's going to be cool, too. We'll be like, oh, man, look what he's doing. He's solving schmurder, too. He's just writing executive orders for laws that already exist.
You know, thanks a lot, Eric. My wife just tariffed me $50 because of you. So thanks a lot.
Well, that's good.
Appreciate you, man.
That's good. I'm glad you got taxed $50.
Tariffs are a tax. That's true. That's true. There we go, Eric. Tariffs are a tax, aren't they? Aren't they, Eric? There we go. We found some common ground.
See, the funny thing is we get taxed for buying shit from other countries too, but you don't think we do.
Yeah, they're called tariffs.
Yeah, no. Tariffs are not what you get taxed when you buy. You just said, when I buy shit from China, I'm not getting a tariff from China. I'm getting it from the USA.
Yeah, that's a tax. Yeah, we did it. We all agree.
You are hilarious.
No, you just agreed with me.
We pay the tariff from China. China pays the tariff from the USA.
So close. You had it for a second.
Hey, RTP, you know that we pay the tariff that China sticks us with.
No, that's incorrect. We pay the tariff that our government charges. That's why when Biden put 100% tariff on Chinese vehicles, if you wanted to buy a Chinese electric vehicle, you would China would get the amount that they sell it for and 100% of that tariff. And that check would go to the United States federal government because it's a tax, sir. It's a tax on the American people, sir.
So say you are correct. How much were we getting charged tariffs before Trump put the tariff on China?
I think we're at the same level now that we were before.
We weren't at a 10% before.
We didn't have blanket tariffs before, bud.
So what was the tariff that China had on us?
There was no blanket. There were no blanket tariffs. None.
That's not correct.
No, there were tariffs. There were not blanket tariffs. What Trump changed is that he added a tariff on everything. And before we had tariffs on specific things when they made sense, because before we had presidents who had an IQ above 60. But since this guy can't think past his own fingers, he's just like, just tariff it all. I don't want to hear any discussions. I don't want to hear any details. Just do blanket tariffs.
Well, Elon Musk IQ is low, right, too. What? He's not educated either, right?
Who?
Elon Musk.
Well, he's not making. Elon Musk agrees with me. Elon Musk agrees that the tariffs are a tax on the American people and that Trump is misusing them. So I don't know.
No, he does
what does
not
that tell
agree
you?
With you?
Yeah, he does.
He's sitting right next to Trump saying, good job with the tariffs.
He's come out publicly and said that we need to use the tariffs more with, I think he said, like more like a scalpel than a blanket.
See, like I said, you think China wasn't taxing us at all, which they were. Okay.
How would they collect a tax on us? How would that even happen? How would they tax us? They send us a bill and we just pay it? Here's our tax. Here's our taxes, China. Thanks for sending me the bill.
So you're saying that when Joe Biden upped the tariff 100%, who was going to pay more for us? Right?
The American consumer.
The American consumers.
Yeah.
Or wasn't going to be more for them to send it to us?
No.
like I said, bro, you keep saying that China didn't have a tariff on us when I know they did. Other countries had tariffs on us. Trump was getting this shit cheaper.
I think the problem is that when you think it's a tariff on us, you think it's a tariff on the country. It's not. It's a tariff on the goods. You don't tariff a country, you tariff their goods. And you can only tariff goods. You can only collect taxes for things that are in your country. You can't tax another country. So if you're tariffing Chinese goods, you are collecting a tax for those Chinese goods. And you do it as a way to protect American businesses. It's honestly, dude, just look at the chat. I like you, Eric, but this isn't good for you. Literally everybody here knows that you're wrong. There's conservatives here that are begging you to just like stop going down this road.
Do it to protect American businesses, right?
Yes.
So that's why Trump did it.
Well, which businesses did he want to protect?
The manufacturing, the steel, auto.
Well, then why didn't he just do tariffs on those things? Why did he do tariffs on all things?
Oh, in your eyes, because he's not smart.
Well, what is it in your eyes?
Because why did he do it to every country and not just a few at a time?
I don't know. Why did he?
Because it would have took 2+ years to do it like that.
What?
You know how long it would have took? He wouldn't even been in office if he would have took 2 countries every few months.
Just real quick, just real quick. I apologize to interrupt you, but if you want some of the answers that he keeps asking you, go ahead and read the comments because you have conservatives that are telling you what to say. I'm just trying to.
Oh, I'm not worried about the comments. I don't pay attention to comments.
You might want to because the conservatives in the chat are they're trying to help you.
I'm not worried about it. All I said was Trump did all the tariffs at one time so that way because whoever comes to the table first, we were getting charged more for other products. So, okay, correct. We were getting taxed.
No, incorrect. We were not being taxed. You can't tax other countries. Countries have no ability to tax each other.
When you are buying product from other countries and they charge you a higher price because of the tariff.
They don't. That's not how tariffs work. We're back to square one. You not knowing what a tariff is. I don't know what to say, bud.
Sure thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trump's doing a horrible job. He's going to crumble the economy. Everything's going to go to hell.
Those are your words. I just think he's stupid.
Well, how could somebody so not smart be doing everything he's doing?
Because he's just literally signing pieces of paper that other people wrote. And we're not getting any benefit from this. Things aren't getting better. What's getting better? You get to watch people rounded up on TV now?
What's getting better?
You have something to beat off to now? What?
That's what gets you excited?
I imagine it's what gets you guys excited because I don't know what you guys are so excited about.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I didn't mind not talking to you.
I blocked you, dummy, and then you begged Admir to come debate me.
All right.
Admir had to give you warnings.
And
I said, Admir, go ahead and let him up, but he's going to be like this.
I'm going to be like this. You're the one that's been screaming and shouting.
Hold on, Eric. Hold on, Eric. Just do me a favor. Let's cool off a little bit. Just question for you, Eric, if you don't mind. Yeah, people are already reporting, but that's all right. Eric, can I ask you a question? Just, wow. So you're not on mute?
Oh, that's weird. It shows on my end he's muted too. That's weird.
Yeah. So Eric, let me just ask you something, and then once you guys get back to that, I don't care. I'm really interested to see because I was watching one of your videos and all that, and it made me think. So in 2017, Trump called Qatar, a tea handlers, as I call it, right? But in 2025, he says that they are great people, and he'd be stupid not to accept the airplane. So what is your take on that?
I mean, they can't hear him. It looks like in the chat, so it's doing that glitchy thing.
Because the people are reporting.
I think he's pretty bold for taking that gift because I wouldn't want to fly in it. I wouldn't trust it. Just like he didn't drink the little
You don't trust those Muslim planes? Why don't you trust it?
That he gave him.
Why don't you trust the plane?
Would you trust it?
I mean, yeah, these guys, they've been bribing Trump for years. They're good friends. They've been funneling him millions of dollars. I don't know why he'd stop trusting them now.
Well, he didn't drink the water that was handed to him.
I don't think he drinks water. I think he just drinks Diet Coke, doesn't he?
Maybe if it was poured out of the same thing that the main dude was given.
Eric, your whole life is a conspiracy theory.
No, my whole life is.
I love it.
How many? You think they really want Trump to do everything he's doing right now? Because
I don't think anybody knows what he's doing. Nobody can figure out
government
what
has
he's
had a
doing.
long time to fix a lot of problems that we've had. Just like Gavin Newsom, $24 billion he can't find.
Why are we talking about Gavin Newsom now?
I was just.
It's just a random. You're just a random sentence generator.
Instead of interrupting,
let's stay on subject.
You're not supposed to interrupt. You're supposed to let me speak.
Well, you interrupted me and I let you, so then I just interrupted you back because I thought you were going to say something, but you changed the subject.
I was trying to make a point, but you don't.
I know, but what if we just stayed on subject and didn't have to whataboutism every 5 seconds?
All right, bro.
Okay, so hopefully my internet is fixed.
You can act
now.
like you won all you want. I don't give a fuck. RTP.
No,
listen, brother, nobody won tonight.
You can either talk
I think the
and
audience
have
as a whole lost.
Or you see, that's what I'm saying. I'm still
okay, hold on. Okay, but and I apologize because my internet, because people are fucking reporting. If you don't like it, just bounce. Jesus fucking Christ, these stupid morons. God damn. So Eric, did you hear my question?
Not really, bro, but I thought maybe this was gonna get somewhere, but like I said, RTP's know-it-all. He's the genius. Trump and Elon are not bright people whatsoever.
No, I don't.
They're not
Elon's
making
smart.
any good decisions.
Elon's
They're not
smart.
gonna do anything positive for the world. So
No, Elon's smart.
Somebody that negative. How could you can't educate somebody that's already educated?
Well, you also can't educate somebody if you're stupid, and that's really the problem I think we're running into tonight.
Yeah, I'm not smart either. You're right. My investment, I just put $1,500 in, it turned to $4,500.
Never mind, you're a genius.
Oh no, I never claimed to be a genius.
Okay, then you're back to dumb.
I never claimed to know it all, but RTP, you do, bro.
I know.
You know it all. You should
every single thing, bud.
You
every
should
single
be
thing.
president.
I've been saying it.
You think anybody would respect you, bro? You would never even make it.
All right. That's fine. Eric, let's just get back to the
point. And that's why, no, he does.
I don't care about that.
He knows how to push people's button.
Oh shit! And that's your own conservative that kicked you out.
The conservatives voted him out.
Listen, Eric. I apologize, bro, but that was Lynn's kicked him out. Oh shit! Lynn's kicked him out. Lynn's. I'll talk to you about that later.
Notorious RTP enabler and best friend Lynn's. Notoriously, she's doing my dirty work again. Everybody knows that about Lynn's. Oh my god!
Wow, Lynn's, I'm flabbergasted. Listen, I'm flabbergasted. I don't even know what to say. I thought it was like a liberal, but
no, it's his
holy.
It's a right on right crime right there.
Don't take it too far with the misinformation saying bestie Lynn's and shit. Easy. No, I didn't want to listen to the crash out. I really didn't. I just don't have the time. So, but yeah, I hope you guys get somebody else up here.
Thanks for putting us
out of our
misery.
Well, now that you're up here, I mean, Lynn, you're up here.
No. Nope. I already took my NyQuil. Nope.
No, but NyQuil only takes about 30 minutes to kick in, so you got about
15. I took it 15 minutes ago.
Consent, Admir. Consent, Admir.
Swear to God.
Go to sleep. No, just 15 more minutes.
Yeah, I'm literally just like listening to just kind of unwind, and that was not unwinding. That was winding me up, actually.
Listen, I'm literally like shocked because
I'm too scared to debate RTP. I literally already did.
Yeah, didn't we debate for like 3 hours? I think
3 hours at least.
I don't think she's afraid, guys. Let's not say that. She took a NyQuil. If anybody's not afraid to debate me, it's Lynn's.
No, I'm still in shock because I would have figured that it was somebody on the left that kicked him off, and then it showed Lynn's. I'm like, this cannot be true. So I had to 3 times look at him like.
Worst thing in the world is when you're losing a debate, which he clearly was, and you're pivoting and jumping all over the place. Don't whine about it. If you want to leave, fucking leave. Stop whining. There's no crying. There's no crying at all.
There's no crying in TikTok.
There's no crying in TikTok. I've been saying that for months. Stop it.
I like that.
All right. So everybody, I hope you get a better debater up here.
Yeah.
But y'all have a good night.
Thanks, Liz. Enjoy your NyQuil.
I will.
I'm like, not only did I fuck up my steak, but this just made it a whole lot better.
Hi, Jen.
Hey, Jen.
It was Admir's fault.
No, I didn't do not. Listen, don't get me into this shit.
What?
I don't want no problems. I don't want no problems with Jen, bro. You can handle that.
I'm in trouble right now. Jeez. If I
Oh,
could hurt either of you physically. Eric's back in requests. I don't know. Have you guys
yes,
done?
I can't.
Have you guys done your research while he's been gone? That was something.
I'll be honest with you. I'm trying to eat this overcooked steak, and it's hurting me. That's why I'm kind of a little bit on the edge. I'm sorry, so I apologize.
So you're just cranky. So, well, if anyone's in requests who agrees with RTP, hop out, because if you come up,
Up to Jay. I don't. It's not a.
he
I'm
left.
still
Right.
like
I don't
flabbergasted.
think it's up to me. I don't think anybody wants him back. I don't care, but I don't think anybody wants
Still on her NyQuil. She will boot him.
I mean, I get it. I take meds to sleep because my brain doesn't turn off. But yeah, you gotta your timeline. So I see a Stacy in request and Walt. If you guys agree, disagree with RTP, stay in request. If you don't, please hop out. So, I'm scared to say it, but W, your wife. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, people were reporting bad, and I'm like, damn, man, if you don't like it, then just get out. Don't report. That'll make no sense.
That response didn't make any sense. I don't think he listened to you, Jen. I don't think he was listening.
I don't think he heard what I said either.
Active listening, Admir.
No.
It's important.
Listen, I'm just listening at this. I mean, I'm looking at this steak. So, and it's.
All right, I guess you go on mute and cry about your steak. I'll figure out the requests.
Yeah. Well, no, since you're gonna drop down, and I'll just watch this damn steak.
Important.
Listen, I'm just listening at this down, and I'll just watch this damn steak. No, but I mean, I don't know if he heard that question. And watching the video, I'm looking at it from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In 2017, he literally said Qatar is a this and that, but now all of a sudden he wants a plan. Not only that, but even if they did end up, wouldn't it, Stacy? Even if Congress does approve it, wouldn't it cost more to get that airplane, up to the standards than to actually fix the one that you have?
I read it. They didn't give a number. I mean, we're talking about hundreds of millions, but I don't know costs. I don't know how much Air Force One. So maybe it would be cheaper to gut it and retrofit it. I have no idea, but it would be expensive.
So it says that Air Force One program, which includes 2 of them, just over $5 billion. Wow.
Okay, K McDuck. Are you opposition?
I don't think he even knows he's up here.
They're following me, so. All right. So if anyone disagrees with RTP, request, the box is open. So.
Yeah,
I don't even disagree with RTP.
Don't worry, RC Dubs. Dana J is gonna dog walk you. Don't worry about that.
That's cute.
I had to throw that one in. I'm sorry, RC.
All right, I'm hopping out.
Bye, Jen.
Bye, Jen. What I was gonna say is, yeah, I'm looking at it. It just says over. Look what? Just over $5 billion. Just don't make no sense anymore.
How much
But
does
hey,
how much does a plane, like a new Air Force One, cost?
so that's what I'm looking at right now. It says 3.9 billion.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, it's a weird gift too, because it's like they're not gifting it to the government; they're gifting it to Trump's library. So it would only be for so that would make no sense. Why would you do that? Retrofit it for 4 years and then you don't get to keep using it? It's a weird thing. I mean, that's just like a bribe, right? Where are you at on that, Admiral? Is that just a bribe or what?
Listen, I've said it, and I made a video. I said, hey, hold up. Why would you want to give somebody a $400 million plane where less than 10 years ago you were talking smack about them and all of that? So to me, my opinion, nobody else, to me, something's not adding up, and I'll say that it's some kind of a bribe.
Feels like a bribe. Feels an awful lot like a bribe. Even the part I think that feels most like a bribe is his sudden turn on Israel, and how now he's like, because these countries, like they've funded Hamas or H groups and the other H group, and so it wouldn't be. It would. God damn it, not the Live Wrangler. That's the part, that sudden shift, and you have a lot of the on the right, like the creators they're really upset about this.
You keep singing the balls.
I don't know what the fuck that was.
Sorry about your balls there, Nate.
Yeah, I don't know about who's taking the balls or none, but I'm good. No, wow. You know who? Oh, there. Okay. Wow, that's amazing to me, man. That really is. No, but I mean, to me, like I said, it's just my opinion. It's some form of a bribery. So
What do you think would have happened if?
that's a.
What do you think would have happened if open a popsicle stand while he was president? When it's crazy the amount of money we're just letting Trump make while he's president. They're like, his son got millions. Trump's son-in-law got $2 billion. Trump has collected like hundreds of millions of dollars. And suddenly this oh, you got your money because you're corrupt doesn't matter because he was a businessman before. I think that's a wild take. I think that's wild to say that because he ran a business before that he just is allowed to now use the office of the presidency to make hundreds of millions of dollars. I think that's crazy.
But not only that, but the way I'm looking at it is, I mean, look at what happened when how much they talked. And I've said, if we're going to be consistent, let's be consistent. Look what happened with Hunter Biden. All of a sudden, millions and millions, and he's using his daddy's, name and all that. I mean, and the dude is just, I don't understand that. But you won't call this out. It just, to me, it's
a tough one. It's a tough one on our side of the aisle. It's a tough one for us to understand.
Wait. Hold on. What do you mean on our side?
Oh, just like, me, you.
Wait, hold on. Listen,
all the other libs.
Okay. Yeah. Listen, let me be perfectly clear. Right. I knew this was gonna come out. Okay.
Oh, you're not liberal? I'm sorry. I didn't know.
Listen, bro. You need to calm the hell down.
You're still not telling people about it, or what? What's going on?
Hold on. Time out.
Okay.
So yes, I consider you a friend and all that. But when you're up here on a panel, and if I'm talking to you, you are the opposition.
Oh man, I thought we were a team. This is news.
Wait,
I didn't even know. I thought we were a team.
Listen. You need to calm down with that, okay? You need to calm down with.
Sorry
but listen, somebody's gonna clip that, and it's gonna be all over. Somebody's gonna clip that. Thanks a lot. I appreciate that.
No, that's my bad. I thought based on our. I'm not gonna get into our DMs, but I thought always being right. I just thought
what
you had officially converted over, but I see you still for appearances. I get it. No, for appearances. I get it. It's fine.
No. I'm saying we can leave just because the Soros checks are coming in.
Those are nice, aren't they? Aren't those nice? Yeah.
Yes,
and that's a good deal.
I mean, I'm not gonna not take it.
You can't turn down Soros money.
No, just like
You
Trump
just
said,
can't.
I'd be a stupid man not to take it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I forgot that's what he said. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
What am I
So
going to do? Not take a bribe? Are you crazy?
So I'm just gonna, take the check and I'm good.
The thing is when he says that, like, there's a little bit of me that
He just
I don't know
sounds stupid.
I don't know if respect is the right word, but like, there's a little bit where I think that's why they like Trump supporters resonate with him, because they're like, yeah, I would take the bribe too. Of course I would.
He just sounds stupid sometimes.
Yeah.
Who does?
Trump.
So hold on. Are you a
I'm
liberal
still
or
a Trump supporter.
hold on, time out. Say that again.
I'm still a Trump supporter, but he does sound stupid sometimes.
Oh, well, I
I like this
appreciate
guy. A
you.
little honesty.
Yeah, okay. I'm all right.
Do you want me to go? Do you want me to go on a stage with you and debate with you and tell you how fucking stupid he is sometimes? Because I will.
I would want to know when he's smart. I'm looking for that one.
I can give you about one time he was smart.
Okay, what was that one time? What is going on here?
You got this one.
What are we talking about? What are we talking about here? This guy's clearly not a Trump supporter. What are we talking about?
No, I am.
You are?
What you said he's only been smart one time?
I swear to God, I am. I voted for him. I literally voted for him. I will show you. I will DM you my papers that I voted for him.
What's going on with you? So why?
So I'll give you kind of backstory. So the backstory is I was kind of misled, I would say, on how Trump was.
Like, you thought he wasn't stupid?
Yes.
Yeah, that happens. That happens.
So basically, I was like, he'll do good for the country, So when he first got in the presidency, I really didn't know who to vote for because I really didn't pay attention in 2016, because I really didn't care in 2016, because I just graduated school in 2015, really didn't care, still working on where I was going to work and everything. Really didn't care at that point in time. So really didn't care who was president. Then when it came to 2024, I was like, you know what? I'll vote for Trump. He seems like, somewhat of a good candidate, and he seems like he's out for the good interests of the people. So I was wrong in so many fucking ways. And he's disobeying the First Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, the 14th Amendment, sending U.S.
Well,
too much agreement, I think, is what happened. I don't know who got that one.
I'm not going to snitch, but it starts with a J. I'm not going to snitch. Don't boot me, Jen.
You're the only one she can't boot. You're safe.
Oh, okay.
It's still you're live. Yeah, I don't know if you know.
Oh, my bad.
She's not magic.
Well, no, I kind of figured since we're in a, since I'm a live now,
Clip it.
Mr. Freeze, I think you. Well, hold on a second, Mr. Freeze. Let's see. We are mutuals. Okay. Well, Mr. Freeze, if you can hear me, please drop down. Actually, I'll disconnect you and then come back up, sir. Golly, bro. Wow. So we are 1-1. Linz kicks a conservative out, and then Jay kicks off. Wow. Okay. Isn't that something? Hey, can you do a little bit? Can you run down a little bit on your video that you did right before you came up? I was trying to listen to it, but my phone was acting up.
I don't. What are you talking? I didn't do a video before you came up, or I came up.
It says that you posted it 6 minutes ago.
Oh, I think
right
that's
before.
I use a software. I was actually just trying a software, like a test. So it just clipped something from the live. I don't actually even know what it is, for being honest.
Okay. So
I'm
do
just
you
testing
want
like when things go at like what time things go. You weren't supposed to say that. I don't think Jen knows I posted something. I didn't tell her I was going to do it.
to? Hey, that's on you, man. That's on you. Um, that is on you. Let's see who's.
You just want me to talk about something so you can eat, huh?
Listen.
That's what's going on right now, isn't it? You want me to entertain the people so you can munch on a whole rotisserie chicken.
No, it's the stupid.
Oh, the steak. That's right.
If you are in the queue, please, if you agree with Jay, Mike, we should be here for a little while, unless people crash out.
This is the good old days. We got Toots. What's up, Toots?
How are you doing?
How you been, man?
RTP, you know me.
I can't believe you're still alive. That's crazy. Good to see you, brother.
I'm still kicking, baby. I'm still kicking. And good to see you as well.
Thank you, dude.
So what's the conversation about?
Well, we've had some weird ones. Is there something on your mind?
Well, I mean, I think that what's going on is amazing. I think that Trump is really proven to be probably the best president in the history of the country. Maybe maybe George Washington and Abe Lincoln, and then Trump.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying that this trade war is the third best thing to happen since the founding of our country, the freeing of slaves, and now this trade war. That's what a lot of people are saying.
Well, it's not actually a trade war. I don't know if you saw what happened today. He was out in Saudi.
Out there, he's announced like 5 real estate deals, and so out there, he's announced like 5 real estate deals, and somebody gave him a jet, and then they bought a bunch of his cryptocurrency. I don't know what else you could call it. I don't.
Well, let's see what actually happens. See, this is what happens with Trump and opposed to Obama or Biden. So when Obama went to China, he had to go get his own luggage. You know, the guy didn't even see him. Xi Jinping didn't go to see him. He was treated like, just who the hell knows what. Biden goes to Saudi Arabia. The crown prince doesn't even go see him. Trump goes to China his first time around. They took him to the Forbidden City. That never happened before. Trump goes to Saudi Arabia, and the crown prince goes to meet him at the plane. Never happened before. He broke all protocols to see him. This is what a real leader, because he's American. He's
or they might just know that the way to get Trump to do whatever you want him to do is to kiss his ass and give him gifts. It could be that, right?
Well, do you really think that that's what's going on right now?
Well, they didn't give any other presidents a jet. They didn't buy any other president's cryptocurrency. They didn't give any other presidents real estate deals that they announced 2 days before. So yeah, it does feel that way because I've never heard of another president getting a jet or a real estate deal as part of their visit.
Yeah, that's because the deals that they make with the Democrats are always shady. They're always behind the scenes.
Why wouldn't these be shady?
The Democrats, everything.
Wait, hold on. Why wouldn't this be shady? Why wouldn't it be
shady
let's just think if he's taking a real estate deal and a? Could I just finish the question real quick, Toots? Is that right?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't this be shady?
Because it's right out in the open. There's nothing shady about it. Now, you know what is shady is when Obama put over $1 billion in cash on a pilot and dropped it off to Iran.
Why is that shady?
Because it's in the middle of the night. It's shady.
So if you drop money off at night, if you do things at night, it's shady?
Well, and also what we found out with Doge when they started to just look through the book.
Hey, Toots, with all due respect, dude, we got to be able to stick to one fucking thing, dude. You've brought up about 15... Shady. I know, but every time I try and respond to something you're saying, you just go to the next subject. We're going to have to stick to like one thing, okay?
Well,
Otherwise, nobody's going to enjoy this
okay, so
conversation.
what's the one thing you want to talk about? You're telling me, you're saying that you think what Trump did is shady when it was really right out in the open. I'm telling you that the shady.
No, I think it was corrupt. I didn't say it was shady. You said shady. I think it's corrupt, and I think the reason he can do it in the open is because no matter what he does, you guys just defend it, and he knows that. He knows that he has such a loyal base that he can openly take bribes, and none of you will care.
Okay, so all the deals that they do behind the scenes, that's okay with you.
The real estate deals? Who else got a real estate deal with the Saudis?
All the deals that the Democrats do behind the scenes, given the 1.7.
Well, let's stay with this one. So let's talk about. You said Joe Biden. You can take Obama. You can take all the presidents before Trump. So there were 45 presidents besides Trump. How many of those other presidents got a real estate deal announced the week that they went and visited another country? Out of all the presidents we've had, how many of them did that?
A real estate deal? I don't even know what real estate deal.
So, like in Syria, they proposed a Trump property in Syria. There's one in the United Arab Emirates. There's one in Saudi. I think there's two in Saudi Arabia. There's maybe it's two in Qatar. Every country he's went to, he's announcing a real estate deal in. So, what other presidents used their diplomatic relations to get real estate deals?
You see, this is why when the Democrats think that
you answer that question though, Toots, before you go on to what the Democrats do, would you mind, since we're going to have a conversation here, just responding to what I said?
I don't know how many. I couldn't tell you the answer to that.
The answer is zero. The answer is zero.
Okay, but what I do know is every time something happens nice for Trump, everybody on the left thinks that it had to be something shady because they always do shady deals. Like this couldn't just happen because
it's against the law, bud.
People actually like them. It's not against the law.
Have you heard of the emoluments clause?
No, but another country is building a casino. They can do whatever they want.
Well, but they can't pay Trump to do it.
Trump
it literally has his name on it. It's right. Trump. It's Trump Tower.
Dude, when you buy a Tesla, it has Tesla on it. It has the name Tesla on it. What does that mean? It's still yours. You bought it.
He's not buying these buildings. They're not his. They're licensing agreements.
They didn't license anything from Trump.
No, they're licensing his name. I don't know if you know this, but Trump has fucked over so many banks that banks won't loan him money to build projects anymore. So all these deals are licensing deals. They're the management company. They call it Trump whatever, but he doesn't build it. He doesn't develop it. He has fucked over so many people that nobody wants him like building projects. So these are licensing agreements, or these are licensing deals, which you don't need his name because he's not that respected. This is just a way for them to funnel him money.
Right. Okay, good. So that's what you think is happening because we're finding out all of this, everything you're saying that Trump is doing, we already found out that everything is happening that the Democrats have been doing it. Everything.
Wait, who else did a real estate deal in another country? You said the Democrats have all been doing it.
Yeah, certainly, it's not a real estate deal. It's
certainly you'll be able to mention some of these really corrupt. I'll give you Obama, Biden, and Clinton, and I want you to just point to one deal that they made that gave them some sort of financial gain.
Clinton Foundation, when she was running for president, she was getting all this money. As soon as she stopped running for president, all the money to the Clinton Foundation, it's not political, supposedly. It's supposed to only be for helping people. And then it all dried up as soon as she stopped running.
So somebody who wasn't president did this? Because remember, I asked about presidents, because you said this happens all the time.
No, I said that the Democrats get to Biden.
But did she do a real estate deal? What was the real estate deal that the Clinton Foundation did?
I said it doesn't have to be real estate. Why do you keep talking about real estate?
Okay, what country gifted her money for a bribe?
Saudi Arabia, Iran.
What's up? You have the receipts on that? Saudi Arabia.
Well, just look it up. The Clinton Foundation was collected all this money until she lost the presidency, and then all of that money dried up. So they were giving that money because.
Well, it's not illegal if you're not the president. It's not illegal. It's only illegal if you are the president.
Oh my Lord. Dude,
brother, you and I can do a deal with Saudi Arabia when we're not president. It's when you're the president you can't do it.
All right, so Biden had 37 shell companies.
No, he didn't. He had 0. What are you laughing at? He didn't. They didn't. None of those had his name on it.
None of them had his name on it.
None of those were his. He didn't own any of those companies.
Remember the 10% goes to the big guy?
Who's the big guy?
Yeah, you tell me.
Well, they didn't prove that it was they didn't prove any money went to Biden, so it must not have been him. In fact, there was one person, though, that multiple times got exactly 10% of the deal, and that was actually Biden's brother. He seemed to maybe be the big guy because he was the one that was actually getting 10% on the nose.
No, it was actually Biden.
Then why didn't they track any money back to him?
They did.
Who did?
Doge.
Don't shut up. Don't did it.
Dude, it all came out. Everything,
No, it didn't, bud. No, that's silly.
all
No,
there.
you got it.
And you know how you
No.
could tell?
Doge
You know how
didn't
you
do
could
that,
tell?
bud. Doge didn't investigate that stuff. Don't be silly.
Listen, you know how you could tell how corrupt they are? They're literally flipping out because they're finding out about all the corruption that they're involved
Who's
in.
flipping out?
The Democrats.
Who? Which ones?
Every one of them.
Yeah, just pick one though. Give me an example of a
Okay.
Democrat flipping out
Pelosi,
because of the.
Chuck Schumer. All right,
Just,
Chuck
okay,
Schumer.
what did Pelosi freak out about? What fraud did they find that she freaked out about?
You don't think that Pelosi committed any fraud?
If you're going to make a claim to it, so I think it's your job to back that claim up right now. Because what I hear from you guys let me just finish. Because what I hear from every Republican every single day is everybody's corrupt, so it's okay that Trump is corrupt. But then when I ask you guys for evidence of corruption, you don't have any. Because the truth is, it's not that Democrats are corrupt and Republicans are, or Democrats aren't corrupt and Republicans are. It's that nobody in the history of this country has ever been more blatantly corrupt than Donald Trump. He's a one of one. You are trying to compare him, just this conversation alone. You are trying to compare him to the entirety of another party. And that should tell you how absurd it is that in order for you have the entirety of another party to choose from, and you can't even come up with an example.
Dude, he's the only president that doesn't take a salary.
He's the only president that takes bribes.
What do you mean he's the only president that takes bribes? He's the only president that doesn't. You can't bribe him. Everyone else
can't bribe him.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Everybody's been.
What do you mean you can't bribe him? What does that mean?
That means that the drug companies, the Pfizer's and all, they can't pay him off.
All right, so 2 days ago, Trump was, he's all Israel, right? He was like, I don't know what we're going to do about Palestine. Israel gets to do what they want, keep starving these children. Today he goes to the Middle East and he meets with a bunch of countries who actually financially have funded groups like the H group in Palestine and the H group in Yemen. They actually fund those groups. And the people that he met with today are pro-Palestine. And now all of a sudden today, after Trump got all these gifts and all this money, all of a sudden today, he's like, you know what? It's time to recognize Palestine as a state. He just changed his entire foreign policy. He changed his whole foreign policy overnight. Ben Shapiro, Mark Levin, all these people are furious about it. Because he just abandoned AIPAC. Why? Because they're giving him more money than AIPAC is. He's the most transparently bribable candidate of all time.
No. This is good. I'm glad you said that because I was wondering how are the Democrats going to spin this one? That he now wants to recognize a state. As soon as Trump wants to recognize a state, now it's, the only reason he's doing that is because of this, because of that.
Give me another reason why he's doing it then. Tell me the other reason why he's doing it.
He's creating peace around the world.
Why didn't he do it until he got the money?
What do you mean why didn't he do it until he got the money?
2 days ago, he was cool with Palestine being wiped off the map. And we were just going to take it over. And he said he was going to own it. That the United States was going to own Palestine. And now today he's like they need to be recognized.
Right, because that's the way Trump. Have you ever heard the art of the deal? That's how you do the art of the deal.
Yeah, you use your leverage, and then people give you money in the deal,
Not money,
and then
money.
you change your mind. This is called a bribe.
Dude,
The art of have you read Art of the Deal? Art of the Deal is basically.
I know what it is. It's just
How do you use leverage to bribe? It's like how do you use Toots, please. Art of the Deal is basically teaching you how to use leverage to extort people.
Not to extort people, to come to a deal that you want. So if you want, let's say you want $5 and you'll say, give me $10. The guy will say, no, I don't have $10. I'll give you $5. And then
why don't you just cite Art of the Deal? Why don't you cite Art of the Deal instead of this thing that's not, that thing you just mentioned is not in Art of the Deal.
No, but the point is everything he's doing, everything that you said that was going to happen with Trump, you said that the stock market was going to collapse. That's it. It's already risen. It's like going crazy right now.
Leverage don't make deals. Leverage don't make deals without it. Enhance it. Enhance your leverage. That's a quote from Art of the Deal.
Yo, listen.
Exactly the thing I just said that you said it's not about.
No, I said that it is about that. I said it's about. I said it's not about. It's not about extorting people's money. It's about.
What's the difference between extortion and leverage?
There's a big difference.
What is it?
Leverage is using something to your advantage to get what you want. Extortion is basically a crime.
It's through force of threat, right?
It's a crime.
It's through force of
Leverage
threat, right?
isn't a crime.
Yes, it's a crime. We agree.
Yeah, listen. If I'm 6'5",
So when Trump says I have the nation's most powerful military,
right,
and I run shit, so you do what I say,
right,
why is that not extortion?
that's the truth.
It's also extortion.
It's not extortion.
It is extortion. By definition, that's extortion, bud.
It's putting America first.
Okay, through extortion.
Through extortion. Anyway, listen, I love you, brother. And thank you for having me up here. We're going to see what's going on. It's happening faster than you can imagine. And you're going to start to see all the truths coming out, bro. You're going to see it.
I don't think you're gonna see it, bud. I love you to death, but this guy's a fucking idiot, and anybody with half a brain could see it. You're just too far in. You're a smart guy. I shouldn't have said half a brain because you're a smart guy, but Donald Trump isn't doing shit. He's really fucking bad at this.
Anyway, stay safe.
Brother.
All right, bye-bye.
Stay safe, man. I don't understand, Jay. How do you have the patience?
Honestly, I just really like Toots. We've talked for years. I just really like that guy. So I don't know. I don't even know if that's patience. I just legitimately like Toots. He's fun to talk to. He doesn't get mad. He's a good guy.
Want some watermelon? There, eat. Go. Oh,
What's up?
where did
RTP brother?
what's up, man? How are you?
Hey.
I'm doing good. How you guys doing?
I'm doing good, man. Just eating the pupper some watermelon, you know.
I see that, man. You're eating like you got a fucking stomach worm or something.
No, I'm
Tapeworm.
Jesus Christ. I'm just hungry, you know. My wife only lets me eat once a day. So.
Oh no, for shame. But I just
Is everything good with you?
Yeah, everything's
yeah,
gravy.
go ahead, man.
Everything's gravy. I just wanted to ask. So, like, our government right now is failing us. Like, both sides of the aisle. You got one side that's making a spectacle of everything, and the other side is like hiding underneath their desks. So, like, how do we go forward? Like, how are we going to tackle 2026?
Who's we? I'm not sure I understand the question, or what? Like from what perspective?
Well, I'm saying our government, you, me, and Admir, who's now a citizen. Our government is
And
failing
lib.
us. Yeah, our government is failing us, like both sides, and the situation that's at hand right now. How do we get?
Hold on, Spartacus, just because I did catch that, Jay.
Yeah.
Oh,
I did catch that.
What happened?
Don't think it. Yeah, I caught that and a lib. So.
Oh, that's right. My bad.
So you're a lib, brother? Admir?
No.
It's working already.
A lot, Thanks a lot. Don't let Janae hear this. Otherwise, I'm going to have to repent to Jesus.
Somebody share the live with Janae real quick, would you? I think she has me blocked. I can't.
No, I have her blocked. No, I don't. Nobody shared to her.
She's got an alt.
But no, like the Democrat side, right? They're making a spectacle about everything they can, and then you got Republicans that are literally hiding underneath desks, and they're not doing shit. Like, how do we get out of this?
Well, look, the truth is, there's plenty of blame to go around, but nothing will change until Trump is gone. Trump is the GOP. He just is. He's the only thing that matters. You just said it yourself. Like Republicans in Congress have the House and the Senate, and they're not doing anything. They're sitting on their hands. They're holding 15 hearings a day about. If I was in Democratic leadership, what I would advocate for is I would take in safe blue districts. I would make sure that we were only running people who were going to support popular ideas, specifically a more sensible tax policy and universal health care. I would run on amnesty. I would run on pathway to citizenship. I would run on DACA. And then I would run on universal health care and fixing our broken tax system. But until Trump is gone, nobody is safe to disagree with Trump. So there's not a whole lot we can do. Until you're allowed to disagree with Trump, it's just going to be what he says goes.
But isn't Trump like the epitome of like an ushering in of like a third party within our system? Because like you gotta think, there's a lot of people that voted for Trump, but they say they're not MAGA. But we gotta realize that like MAGA is literally an ushering in of a third party in our political system. And what are we gonna do about that? Are we gonna say, okay, a third party, you can come in, you won the presidency twice.
That'd be great. If MAGA and Republicans split, that would be great.
Okay.
I like this idea of more parties. In fact, I'm going to add two more things that I think that Democrats should run on. They should, and these two actually are at the top of the list. They should run on ending Citizens United, getting money out of politics, and they should also run on ranked choice voting. That gives people all of the things that everybody universally hates. We all hate the two-party system, and we all hate money in politics. And ranked choice voting allows for multiple parties because you can vote if you wanted to vote for Trump, but you actually liked what was the libertarian Chase Oliver. Let's say you liked Chase Oliver better, and then Trump was your second favorite, and then maybe Jill Stein was your third, and then maybe Kamala was your fourth. You would rank it that way. So now you end Citizens United, you get rid of super PACs, and you force everybody to have state-sponsored elections where you don't see ads on TV, you have long-form substantive debates, and you take away like the Hollywoodification of it. I don't think a single person in Congress should have a fucking podcast. I think that's absolutely insane because it allows them to speak unchecked for the people and make money for their campaigns. I think that something like that is what the Democrats might have a mandate to run on. And I think that AOC and Bernie are right now the face of that party, whether people want to admit it or not. And I think that they should be really radical with those types of ideas because those ideas work across the aisle. And Trump's going to continue to fuck up. Like he's going to bleed. He's going to bleed support all the way till the end. He's bleeding support already. It's going to continue to bleed. That's what I would do. So Democrats probably won't do any of that shit. They'll probably just have Chuck Schumer make the calls.
I understand nobody's perfect. Like we can't like focus ourselves on like a certain icon when it comes to parties, right? But you want radicalism, right? So you want something that's going to be radical. And do you not think that like MAGA was something that was radical, thrown in our faces, and a lot of people adapted to it?
No, what MAGA is fucking obnoxious. There's no policy has been radical. The only thing that's radical is like they have amplified the voice of like QAnon. But if you look policy for policy, Trump's just a generic Republican. His first term, he lowered taxes, he increased spending, he didn't do much else.
Wasn't he a Democrat like his whole entire like past?
He's nothing. He's just a guy. Like Trump doesn't have any real beliefs. He just wants power and money.
So you're still about eat the rich, right?
I'm not about eat the rich. I'm about like a financial system that makes sense. And we have to come to an understanding that we fucked this up. Like the fact that one guy owns more wealth than 50% of America is a total failure of our economic system. And we have to at least come to that agreement. I'm not a socialist or a communist. I'm not a capitalist. I understand that there's 350-ish million people in this country, and everybody feels a certain way about economic systems. I'm a firm believer that the best option for us is a mixed economy, and a mixed economy can include higher taxes on rich people. It can include universal health care. It can include all these things. We could do so much good in the world, and instead, we just keep making more missiles. We could make our country a great place to live. We could lower crime. We could lower drug use. We could lower poverty. We could lower homelessness. We could do things that encouraged families that could live off of one income. We could do all these things. But Republicans seem hell-bent on just making sure the billionaires get all of the money and then telling us we just hate rich people. No, we don't like a broken economic system.
Okay, so when you're talking about economics, right, where do you think our middle class is right now? Like, where do you think our stance is as a middle class in the United States, which is the superpower of the world? Where do we think we stand right now?
It's shrinking. They have no power. The middle class hasn't been weaker in America since pre-World War I. The middle class is devastated.
Well, how do we adapt and overcome as the middle class?
You tax rich people and you say you can either pay that money in taxes or you pay your employees more, and then you break up monopolies. So and you allow small businesses to thrive again. The reason small businesses aren't thriving right now is not regulation. It's not overtaxation. It's that rich people can afford to never pay taxes because they have the best lawyers and they write all the laws, and middle class people can't. So if I open a business as a middle class person, I'm going to pay a much higher rate of taxes than Elon Musk. And then they'll tell you like, oh, well, Elon's the one that creates all the jobs. And he doesn't. He just buys up all the jobs. They just steamroll until they have all the jobs, and then they tell you they're job creators.
But coming full circle, you're about eat the rich, right?
No, I just told you I don't give a fuck about if the rich are rich. I don't care if rich people exist.
The last 30 seconds was about taxing the rich, making the rich pay their fair share, like all this stuff. So it's eat the rich, right?
No, it's tax them fairly.
How can we tax the rich fairly without fucking the middle class?
What?
Yes. How do we tax the rich without fucking the middle class when our government has not been doing what they're supposed to? They've been sitting on their hands or making grandstands, right? So how do we come to a...
Why would taxing the rich hurt the middle class?
How is it not?
Because it's not them getting taxed.
Okay, so when they make the tax policies, right? And our government has already said that you got one side that's doing this, grandstanding, the other side sitting on their hands. How in the fuck are we going to accomplish this without fucking ourselves to begin with?
It feels like you don't really want an answer, if we're being honest. It feels like you just want to be up here and complain. Like you're not really engaging with what I'm saying.
But no, I am, because you kept saying the rich, right?
Railroads. You're fine, dude. It's no big deal. Do you know why I'm saying we should tax rich people, though?
I understand that, but how much?
Well, look, if you look at the history of this country and you look at when the middle class was at its biggest, when the most people could live on the median income, you had one income households, people had retirements. The top marginal tax rate was 90%. So, and what that is, that's a progressive tax. So it was the equivalent of $4 million in today's money. Basically, every dollar you made after $4 million, you were taxed 9%. And you could either eat that tax or you could choose happy, then write a big fucking check to the government. And we also realize that everybody in America can live off of $4 million. I don't understand why it's important to have somebody like Elon Musk, who literally has more wealth than 50% of the country, 175 million people. That doesn't make any sense. But you have to incentivize good behavior because people are inherently selfish. And if you let them keep money, they will keep the money. And the whole reason we did trickle-down economics and lower taxes is because all the rich people, all the business owners came to the government and they're like, hey, look, if you guys tax us less, you know what we'll actually do? We'll share the wealth more. And then they didn't. And we've been doing that for 50 years. And we should have learned our lesson by now that rich people will hoard wealth.
And if they hoard the wealth, then we either have to print more money
or we have to tax them. And if we print more money, that's inflationary. And if we tax them, it's deflationary. So I would rather go with taxing.
Like in their checkbooks, because rich people like to spend money as well. Like, why can't we hit them with like?
Hold on, Spartacus. I apologize, man. My bad, man. Hey, if it's glitching, you might want to get out and come back in, because it's fine on everything else, but some people are complaining. So you might just want to get out and then come right back. Let's see. Oh, and just while I do appreciate the coins, if you guys can do me a huge favor, please do not gift me. Gift the panelists RTP and Spartacus, please. What do you mean, Jen? Yes.
But I was just gonna say, like, why can't we hit them like where it hurts? And the money that the greedy folks like to spend, like, yes, they like to hold their money back. They like to have generational wealth. But why can't we hit them in their checkbooks and when they're spending shit by hitting them with a high or like a consumption tax? Like,
Because oh, sorry, I gotta echo there. Because statistically, that's regressive. Like, I understand in theory that sounds good, but what you know about a consumption tax, if you've looked through anybody who's done a consumption tax, is a consumption tax hurts the middle class far more than it hurts the wealthy, because they have to pay a bigger tax as a percentage than the wealthy of their wealth, right? And so it means that the middle class can actually buy less, and the rich people who have all the money, they can already afford to pay double, triple, like they can afford to pay $50. Like Elon could pay $1,000 for a gallon of milk. It wouldn't make a fucking difference to him. There's not you cannot tax them on consumption enough to make up the difference. So what you would have is that rich people would pay less taxes. They would just have somebody else buy their groceries or something. They'd figure out a loophole, and then middle class and poor people would pay higher taxes, and the wealth gap would get bigger.
but how do we like rectify this whole issue?
Tax the rich appropriately. Every other country does this. Every other country that has like every country in the world that has a strong middle class taxes the rich.
But like, what is the appropriate direction that we should go, man?
Tax the rich.
How so? How are we going to tax?
90% progressive tax for every dollar over. We could call it 10 million, 20 million, 50 million, 100 million. I think Kamala said, I think her number was 100 million. You're telling me people can't live off of $100 million? That if we cut their income at $100 million a year, then they're going to like cut wages for everybody else? Of course not. Everybody can live off of 100 million. I think it should be 10 million, but we would have to find like a common number where everybody agreed. I think 100 million is a good number. And every dollar that you make after 100 million, you're taxed at 90%. Every dollar up until then, you're taxed at 39% like normal. And then after that, you can either pay taxes to the government or you can pay your employees more. And then we don't have to worry about the government subsidizing things. You're just going to have employees who are making more money and can afford more. Then you're going to get your nuclear family back. You're going to get the one income families back. We use that money, we pay for education, healthcare, and maybe we stop bombing fucking everybody. Maybe we just stop running around the world testing out all of our missiles on brown people.
I agree. And I think that could work. But you're going to have the rich folks and the other. So how do you think the IRS is going to be able to keep these folks in check? Because they
fund the IRS. You pay the IRS an insane amount of money. We invest heavily in the IRS.
But what are we going to do when they got lawyers that the best money can buy?
You rewrite the tax laws without their input, and you cut out all the stupid loopholes like, hey, if you buy a yacht, you don't have to pay taxes. You rewrite the tax laws and you don't ask for any of their input.
Okay.
You take money out of politics. So I don't care how good your lawyers are. If the law is clear, the law is clear. The problem right now is that the law is clear, and the people that are not paying any taxes, they pay their lawyers to lobby the government to carve out specific loopholes for them. Loopholes you and I will never have, like buying a private jet or buying a yacht or transferring money, buying like your company is going bankrupt, so you create another shell company to buy your own company, and suddenly you're not bankrupt anymore. Suddenly, just for some reason, XAI owns X.
Right on.
So Spartacus, let me just give you a little. Have you ever heard? Spartacus, let me just give you a little. Because every December I go and I buy a truck, 6,100 pounds, and I can write it off for the whole year. It doesn't matter how much I pay, whether it be 40, 50, 100,000, doesn't matter. Do you think that that's fair?
You're breaking up kind of bad, Admir.
Man, I can't.
know what the hell is going on, man.
It sounds like your mic's cutting in and out.
Yeah.
My mic?
Yeah.
Yeah, you sound good now. Sound better now. Try to ask that question again.
Okay, so have you ever heard of that one section, the 79? It's called Section 179 of the tax code,
No, I have not. Please
Spartacus.
enlighten me. Please enlighten
Yeah.
me,
So
brother.
if yeah, so basically, as a business owner, I can go out every December before December 24th. I can go out and buy a truck that is above 6,100 pounds gross weight rating, and I can write that off for that whole year.
The
Did you
whole
know that?
so
Yes,
the
sir.
year that you purchase XYZ for your business, you can do it as a tax write-off, right?
Correct. And all I have to do is put my business name on the side and use it 50% of the time. So if my wife, let's say, if I send her to get me a truck part, all she's got to do is say, "Hey, here's how many miles, and here's the receipt," and that's it. And I can write that truck, depreciate the whole truck that year.
So that's the loopholes that we need to start like closing, right?
Well, that's what
Yeah, yeah,
RTP was talking
absolutely.
about.
I mean that totally makes sense. And like the gray zone when it comes to tax policy, that's really, really like where they nipped us in the butt. But I understand that. And I'm gonna like just do a complete pivot, okay? So we're gonna go up.
I love that honesty. I love that.
No, I'm gonna
No,
do a
I
complete
liked it.
pivot.
I'm not making funny. I promise. I love what you just did. I'm a fan.
But no, so my question is like, what do you guys think about El Chapo's son making a plea deal yesterday, and 17 of his family members showed up at our border to turn themselves in? What do you guys think about that? Do you think it's because Donald Trump utilized labeling the cartel as a T group and they're freaking out? Or do you think that it's a tactful approach on the cartel side?
I don't know anything about it. I'd have to research it. I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, I don't know nothing about it.
It looks like the Guardian says El
All I've
Chapo's
heard.
family enters U.S. as part of negotiating a plea deal for El Chapo's Joaquin El Chapo Guzman's son.
Yeah, and I read it yesterday on the information in the news that El Chapo took a plea deal, and then all of a sudden today, like 17 members of like El Chapo's ex-wife and these other family members showed up to the border to turn themselves in. So do you think that
Well, it says here that they didn't turn themselves in. They came for the plea deal. It says they're not wanted by authorities.
My thinking is that they went into protective custody. So I think that El Chapo's son probably like gave information and said like, protect these people of my family for
Sure,
this.
that could make sense. Yeah, that could make sense that they're cooperating, and so that's why they're coming here. That could make sense.
Yeah, I just thought that was interesting because like mainstream media is like not even talking about it.
Yeah, a lot of stuff happened the other day. I do think that a lot of the stuff that happened is far more important than that. I don't think that's terribly important.
Well, my concern is because you guys know I was in the military. I served my country. I had a lot of insider stuff. So like this is a situation where this is our neighboring country, and if these things are going on, like what do we do about going forward? Because I already talked to you guys about the Patriot Act and how Donald Trump labeled XYZ as T groups, and like that's literally a tool in the tool belt that the current administration, whether it be Democrat, Republican, MAGA, whatever, that they can use for their gain. So I'm saying like,
what do you mean? They can use for their gain? Like they can celebrate that? Like that was a win for them?
It can be a win, right?
Is that what you're saying though? Is that what, I'm just not sure the point you're making.
Well, I'm just saying that they can use it as a win. They can use it and say like, okay, well, we did this with this, so now we're gonna do.
Well, that's fine. I mean, Trump's gonna have some wins. He's not not everything he does is gonna be something we all disagree with. That's
I agree.
But I don't think that's gonna be something that we got El Chapo's son to turn. I mean, these are Mexican cartels. Most of the violence, most of the crimes are occurring in Mexico. So I don't think that would be like a big
I'm saying,
electoral
like,
win.
what if it progresses? You know what I'm saying? Like, because I was in Afghanistan, I was in Iraq, and shit hit the fan really fucking quick. And
What do you mean if
our
it progresses?
neighboring-
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Yes, I'm saying about progression.
So
So
it progresses to what? I'm probably just not
point to
following.
where we have all these cartels utilizing the weapons that we gave them against us at the border, and it just explodes.
I mean, yeah, maybe violent crime has been dropping in this country precipitously since the 90s. I think we could address that if it came to it. Maybe we stop manufacturing and selling guns to the cartel. I think that'd be a good idea. Maybe we tighten up our gun laws, but I don't think that we're anywhere near that right now. I think you cross that bridge when you get there.
Okay, I understand. All right. Well, I was just bringing it up just to like turn face, but I will drop off to let somebody
stop manufacturing and selling guns to or anywhere near that right now. I think you cross that bridge when you get
and like chit chat with you guys.
Appreciate you for coming up, man.
Oh yeah, keep doing what you guys are doing. I enjoy what you guys do. We need to come together and find some kind of unification, some way, shape, or form. And once again, I appreciate it, guys.
Spartacus, I mean, I mean, you can always come to the
left with Admir. Is that what you were going to say?
No.
Sorry, I didn't mean to complete your sentence there.
I'm not going to go left. I'm not going to go right. I'm totally like, I'm a straight shooter. I'm straight down the middle, man.
I like that. Admir's more of like a side shifter.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
Wow. Straight burn, man.
Yeah, that's all right. But thank you, though. Appreciate it, Spartacus.
Let's take it easy. Enjoy your Tuesday.
Yes, sir. Thank you. But Jay, have you looked into this by any chance? And I think this might be a good topic for your show. Is the quote unquote white Africans, the 8,000 that
yeah, from South Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know if you want to touch up on
today.
Did you?
Yeah,
I just find it very interesting.
Look. It's just hard. It's hard to say that this isn't just. I know conservatives don't like the word racist, but I guess if we could like sugarcoat it, we could say it appears that Republicans are far more comfortable letting in refugees from white countries. It's a weird thing. Seekers illegal, and then just like flying some asylum seekers over here, paying for their food. We're going to pay for their housing. The stuff that you guys said, the weird thing to literally be asylum seekers illegal, and then just like, stuff that you guys said that, or you guys, you're on the right now. All the things we're just doing it, and
I think we just need to call it out for what it is. I think it's when I look at Stephen Miller, when I look at Elon Musk, we all know where they come from. Now, all along, Trump is saying, "Hey, we don't want immigrants. We need to shut down the border. We need to revamp the system. We need to do all of this." All of a sudden, you got these so-called farmers who are being persecuted. So my question is, well, aren't there farmers in, let's say, in Canada that are being persecuted, or Honduras, Mexico, and all of these other countries? Why
well, we've set
specifically,
up a scenario where the president just gets to pick and choose like which immigrants he wants, and it seems to be totally at his discretion, which is, I mean, I don't think anybody thinks that's what the Constitution allows for.
Yeah, I just think that. Oh, hi. Oh shit, she's here.
Oh shit, she's here. All right, I keep seeing people hop in the requests that I know are friendlies to RTP. So if I kick you out, if we're only bringing up people who disagree with RTP. So if you agree with Jay, please drop out a request. Or if you come up and you agree, I'm just going to kick you out anyway. So that's all.
Play. Yeah, I mean, and I've asked this, some of the conservatives, and they kind of go around and why not just call it for what it is? I think it's pure BS, and this is just ridiculous.
Yeah, I think somebody in the chat said it. Like, it's ironic that American farmers have been really severely hurt by this administration, specifically like the polling of USAID. And so it's
Oh, yeah.
ironic to then like bring in like these farmers are being persecuted. It's like, damn, man, like what about our farmers? Can we take
That's
care
a
of our
valid
farmers?
point. That's a very good point.
I have this sneaking suspicion that I don't know what they're. I think it's refugee status, maybe. Do you know what status they're under?
Well, it can be refugee because if you're filing for a refugee, you got to be at your own country. So the only explanation is they're coming here,
Whatever they're seeking. I don't know what they're. I think it's refugee status.
asylum, and then they're gonna change their status later down the road. But they can't just come into the United States and say, "Hey, we're filing for refugee." That's not how. Well, let me rephrase that. It's Trump's United States, so they're
That's
gonna do
right.
whatever
The United States of Trump. That's correct.
I don't know what else. This is getting a little bit ridiculous. And Billy, I know you're in the request, but can you do me a favor? Put a 1 if you are a opposition to RTP. I'm trying. Oh, that's a very good comment. Did Admir ask the Arby's manager to upgrade their Wi-Fi?
They've been doing. Yeah, they've stepped it up.
I
But did you?
Guys, what does RPT mean? Or
it's
RTP?
RTP.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Well, hold on a second. I mean, Clumsy, if you don't mind me asking, who did you vote for?
I haven't voted yet. I can't vote.
Oh, okay, cool. Have a good day, man. Yeah, RRPT.
It doesn't really stand. It doesn't stand for anything. It used to stand for something, but it's not really applicable anymore. I just kept the same logo and username.
Nah, but I don't see anybody. Billy. Let's see what Billy. Okay.
Is that who you just had here, or no?
No, I didn't see.
Oh, okay. My bad.
What did it stand for? Well, I don't know.
It was Riding the Pine. It's when it's from. I used to do like sports betting, and so I had like a sports betting TikTok, and it was meant so that people didn't take it seriously. Like I wasn't meant to be like a prognosticator. I just made content about it, so it was kind of like. Sorry, I got distracted. It was just a way, for people not to like confuse me with somebody who was like trying to be a betting guru. I didn't want people to think I knew everything.
I never got to ask you, how long have you been on TikTok?
I have no idea. I think probably like 3 years now. But doing political stuff, maybe like 2. I don't know. I used to, when I first started, it would just be like once in a while I would jump on and I would debate. And then I started doing it regularly, probably like 2 years ago.
For some reason, I thought you were up here longer.
No. I'm saying I'm not even here anymore. I'm not even really on TikTok except for with my lib friend Admir. It's the only time I really ever come on here anymore. Just to hang out with my liberal friends.
Yeah. Yeah. Which
has been lovely. It's been really lovely.
Yeah, saying that. I can't wait, bro.
I don't think anybody on that side likes you anymore, do they? Are there still people hanging on to liking you?
No, I mean, well, to me, it doesn't matter. I mean, the people that I hang around, we have like 1, 2, 3 liberals, and we got 1, 2, 3, 4 conservatives. I mean, I don't really give a shit about none of them. I really don't. I don't even go around their lives. I don't even do nothing. And if you want to have a conversation,
I see you on the live, some conservatives yelling at you, so that's why I thought you had just made the switch.
Well, I mean, it's I disagree with Trump, so I'm a flip-flopper, which that's fine. I'll take it.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is.
I like flip-floppers.
Yeah, I mean, well, listen, bro. You need to... Yeah.
It's fine, man. Just the answers line up. You've always wanted... I think your wife is happier with you being a lib. I think this is resurrecting your marriage, which I think is good. It's important.
Right. I mean, after 20 years, I gotta spice it up somehow.
I think actually you're just so far past your prime, you can't be a dick anymore. So you're like, all right,
Oh,
that'll be cool.
it's like yes, dear.
Yeah.
Yes, dear. Just yes, yes. No, but I mean, it's. But I think next week uh, we're gonna have a little bit of fun. Mike would like to talk to you.
Who?
Mike speaks easy. He debated RC. Was it yesterday? I can't remember when it was.
I'm not sure if I know who that is. I don't know if I've talked to them or not, but my bad if I have. I have a worst memory.
No. Yeah, I know your memory.
Oh, wait. I might have seen him debating the other day. He actually sounds, his voice, if it's the same guy that I saw the other day, I thought he sounded just like Mike the Patriot, who now goes by a different name. He converted to Islam, and I forget what name he goes by now. So sorry, Mike, for that. But he sounded like him.
I don't know if he converted. I have no idea.
No, not this Mike. It's a different Mike that converted. They just sound. It's clearly not the same guy. They just have the same sounding voice, I think.
Yeah, he's actually pretty decent. I mean, he held his own against RC, and I thought it was a pretty good one.
Well, I'm looking forward to next week. Does that mean we're done for today? Is that what that means?
No, if there's anybody that would like to come up, I mean, listen, I understand that you want to run from RTP. I would too. But I mean, if you want to come up and ask him questions, he'll be respectful.
We've been pretty nice to everybody tonight. I think Eric maybe would disagree.
Listen, Eric.
But I thought we were nice.
God damn it, Eric. I was like, all right, we're going to do this. We're going to do this the nice way, and then boom.
To check on some plants, and then I'll be right back.
Not replying, running.
Hi, Admir.
Well, good evening. Please don't tell me you're on a toilet.
No. What?
I was like, what the hell?
What a thing to say to a lady.
Oh, yeah, my bad. How you doing? Everything good?
Good.
Good evening. Please don't tell me you're on.
Good. I don't know why it came out replay, but I put not RTP running.
Uh-oh. So you're still a MAGA?
I've never been MAGA. I'm not MAGA. That's why I don't come up to debate. If you put up there RTP versus.
So, okay. Fair enough. I'll take.
I liked them. I got lucky.
Okay. Well, I mean, fair enough. And I'll talk to the boss, which is Jen. So, we might have to change it up. Maybe that's why people.
Who's the boss?
Well, Jen is the boss.
I thought you were the boss. This is your live.
It might be my live, but I don't think you've ever spoken to Jen, so I think you might want to.
Yeah, I spoke to her last time when I debated RTP. But I got a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you voted Democrat before? How do you vote? Do you vote based off of party or do you vote off of the person, Admir?
So legally, I couldn't have voted last time. Legally, but I can tell you that my mother-in-law, who's been a staunch Democrat for like 50 years, somehow reason she voted Biden, but then voted Trump this time. And now, maybe that's what I'll do tomorrow is kind of blur her number out and post what she said. And I think
change your voter and change your voter registration.
Give me 1 second.
Yeah, and so, but no, and I actually had a talk, Jesse, and all of that.
It sounds like your mic's cutting out again. I can't hear you.
Bless it.
Are you
Okay, is
still
that
there?
better?
Yeah.
Bella, can you hear me? Okay, I don't know what is, man, for a second. Um, but I was talking and Bella, I'll tell you something. I'd say for the last 3 months, I was like, damn, I'm just plain stupid, right? Just plain stupid. But I got to learn from Jesse that it's a huge difference between stupid and ignorant. And when he said that, I was like, oh, I'm not ignorant. But then when he explained it, what that actually means, and he's absolutely 100%. And you know who Jesse is, right, Bill? Yeah. Um, it's the information that you can say that I had that I just ignore. It's the best way that I can put it.
Continue for half a mile.
Where?
Damn, that's a long time for you to continue. I don't know if I want to continue for hearing Admir for half a mile.
Fuck, bro. You know, and Bill, just so you understand, it is okay for you to ask questions. It is okay to criticize your president. In my opinion, what is not okay is to think that what he's doing, everything is correct. To me, that is not okay. That's just my personal opinion.
I agree with you on that. I criticize him every day. I got a few critiques, absolutely. I still like the guy. I don't know what it is. I like him, and
He's
I
got that
love.
Riz.
It's not that. I like my party. I like my party. It's. I think it's gonna take.
Take the next left onto Emmett Street.
I don't think it's ever.
See that?
Now you're talking to someone who I have never voted Democrat. I've only voted Republican. For Pete's sake, I voted for McCain. Okay.
Continue for 3/4 of a mile.
I mean, I worked on Romney's campaign, so you can change.
You could change, yes, absolutely. I'm all for the change. I criticize a lot when it comes to Trump and my party. There's a lot of things that I criticize, but I just there's
Outside
something
of like the
about
vibes.
left that you could. When it comes to Trump, I just there's
What do you like about the party?
everything.
Come on, you can't be everything. Get out of here with that.
And I just.
All right, well,
Oh,
I'm gonna start with the basics, okay? I like the elephant. I do not like the donkey.
That makes sense. I'm with you on that one.
I do not like blue. Blue has never been my color. Does not look good on me. It's just not flattering. It's just not no. I like what my party stands for. I like.
What does your party stand for?
Conservative. I do like. I'm not that conservative, but I do like some of the things like what's it called? Nuclear family.
Well, everybody stands for that.
No, not the left. No.
We do.
No.
They just tell you that we don't.
RTP. This whole not only that, but when it comes to a man can be a woman, and
why do you guys care so much about trans people? Honest to God, this is one of the strangest things. Like I was going through lives today, and every single conservative live, they're talking about trans people. And every time I bring somebody up on my panel, I never talk about trans people. But every time I bring somebody up on the panel, it's about trans people. And I'm starting to think that it's not something that you guys care about. You just think it's a good argument for you. Because it's less than 1% of the people. It doesn't affect anybody's lives. Can I ask you a real question? And I'm not trying to be offensive here. I'm really not. I understand people have beliefs, but like if we just leveled it, I think that people who believe in Jesus are silly. Some people think that choosing your own gender is silly. Why can't we just agree to leave each other the fuck alone when we don't believe what other people believe?
Absolutely.
Why can't you guys see that as Christians, that you guys believe in something that you can't prove scientifically is honestly a little silly, and we all have to respect that. and we can write laws like Pam Bondi right now is saying, like, I put together a task force about anti-Christian bias. So we can't be biased against your beliefs that aren't scientific, but you guys get to be biased against their beliefs because you don't view them as scientific?
It's not that. I don't have an issue. I've got friends that are trans. I get along with a lot of people that are trans on this app. I don't disrespect them and they don't disrespect me. But when you come at me and you're trying to when you're trying to tell me that a trans woman is a woman, you're trying to make me dumb.
Yeah, are you trying to tell me that all the animals in the world lived on one boat?
No.
Okay, well, see the problem that we have here is that you're allowed to make ridiculous statements.
What?
And by the way, none of us, nobody on our side believes a man can be a woman. That's the way you guys phrase the argument so that it seems crazy. What we believe in is just that there are people who feel differently. And whatever that is, whatever science that is, I don't think it's really that important. But I have empathy for somebody who wakes up in the morning and they look like what we all think a man looks like, and they feel differently, and they can't shake that. And as somebody who's neurodivergent, like I have ADHD, and one thing that kind of sucks, and the people with ADHD who've been diagnosed and researched this stuff, they'll understand it. When we say things like we struggle with executive function, people are like, I struggle with executive function. And we're like, you don't get it. We know what we have to do, we can see it, and we can't pull the trigger, and we can't explain why. Our brains are all wired so differently that I just think it does a disservice to the entire conversation that we label it as liberals believe that men can be women. No, we don't. We believe men are men and women are women. We don't believe it. I don't believe that a man should be able to walk into a bathroom. Me, a man, I don't think I should be able to walk into a women's bathroom and say, I don't think that. But I also don't think that's happening. And let me give you an example that I have to be careful on some of these details because some of this stuff I'm not really allowed to say. But recently I did an event with conservatives and, sorry, I got an echo, with conservatives and liberals. And it was like 4 hours worth of filming. And in the studio, the bathrooms were non-gendered. So all the bathrooms had 2 stalls and a urinal. And I sat there there was 20 conservatives that were in it before me and 4 with me. And not once did anybody run into a problem. It's just honestly not that big of a deal. You don't have a bunch of people that are faking their gender to go into a bathroom. And even if they were, you can do that now. I could shave my face, put on a wig, do makeup, put on a dress, and I am not a woman. I am a man in a costume trying to do something wrong. But that's where I have the problem, is that it just seems like some people think that their beliefs are far more important than other people's.
No, absolutely not. Nope, and I agree with you. Listen, I'm in Connecticut. We've had, you go to the bathroom, it says all genders, but it's
Take the next right
one
onto
stop. Go ahead, do it. I'm not.
But why? No, I'm asking why that's not the Republican solution. The Republican solution is ban trans people, not make our bathrooms make more sense.
Why is the solution not just to make the bathrooms make more sense?
600 feet.
I think that the whole bathroom issue was just a topic, okay? People just needed something to discuss. I didn't discuss. I don't give a shit. I mean, I did when I joined some live.
You just brought it up.
No, that's not what I brought up. What I brought up was when you're telling me that a trans woman is a woman, period, I've got an issue with that.
Why?
That's an issue for me because a trans woman is, period, a trans woman.
So because you believe something somebody else doesn't believe,
Take the next
that means you get to legislate it. But when you believe that all the animals on the earth fit on one boat and there was a worldwide flood, then I have to respect those beliefs, and I can't discriminate against you because of those beliefs. In fact, the Attorney General will make sure of it. She's making it her special mission to make sure that I have to allow you to believe in some crazy shit. But if you
me to believe
No,
this.
the laws are protecting some people's beliefs and not other people's beliefs. The law is specifically being geared towards Christians to give them extra ability to put things into law. Like, for God's sakes, Oklahoma's teaching out of the Bible. The book is just not true. It's just not true, and they're teaching it as part of history. It's historically inaccurate, and we're teaching it because we have to respect that people believe it.
Listen, beliefs. You're comparing facts with beliefs.
No, I'm comparing beliefs and beliefs in your version, because I'm trying to compare it to what you're saying. You're saying that you don't believe that somebody who's born with biological markers can identify as a different gender. And I hear you. I understand you say that your belief is that's not the case. And I think you would agree that you have a belief. Other people have a different belief than you. What I'm pointing out is that you have a belief to confirm the existence of transgender people than there is of the Bible. But we can write laws to protect your beliefs, but then you guys write laws specifically targeting other people's beliefs.
You're not hearing me right.
Can I just
what I'm saying is,
normally,
I'm not saying that they shouldn't.
Normally, I try not to get in this and all that.
Look, I'm going to be honest. I think this is the first conversation I've ever heard on TikTok where we're talking about the real issue. And yeah, I think this is a good conversation. Honestly, I think this is a fair conversation.
And I'm not saying that. And Bill knows that I've always been straight up with her. I've always said my mind, and I think that's why her and I kind of, I don't want to say get along, but we have that mutual mind, and I think that's why her and I kind of, I don't want to. You still MAGA, and you said no, but every sentence that you've said and every word that you've said. Okay. All right, if you say so. All right, that's cool. I apologize. Go ahead, continue.
That's not MAGA. You're not understanding what I'm saying.
Okay, help me understand.
You're taking it as if I'm saying that they shouldn't exist, or.
I'm sorry if I'm giving that impression. It's not what I'm trying to say, but go ahead.
Okay, so I'm not saying that someone who believes that someone who's born a male and believes that they're a female, they shouldn't, or it shouldn't happen, or it's wrong, or no, that's none of my business. I don't care. What I'm saying is, don't come to me or tell me that a trans woman is a woman, period.
What do you mean by that?
What do you mean? You're trying to make me
who's coming
stupid.
to you and saying that? Who's coming to you and doing that?
Anyone.
So do you want it to be outlawed?
That keeps everywhere for the past.
Are you saying you want that outlawed?
Wait, no, I'm not. What?
Well, because what we're talking about with trans people is legislation. Your party keeps passing laws against trans people. Nobody's passing laws against your beliefs. That's what I'm trying to get here. I'm not saying that you personally don't think people can identify how they want. And I understand you're saying don't throw it in my face, whatever that is. What I'm talking about specifically is legislation. And because of your beliefs, you're overlooking the fact that your party is directing legislation targeting less than 1% of our population while protecting your beliefs that are unscientific. They are attacking others while strengthening your protections. And that's where I have a problem. If we're going to do this thing where unless it's like proved by science, then we can't also promote Christianity. If that's going to be the line we draw, then there's a lot of other stuff we need to get rid of.
Okay, I need you to let me finish at least.
Sure.
Is that her cutting out or is it me?
Yeah, I think it's hers.
In that way.
Could you start over? We missed the first
You
part.
hear me now?
Out. Yeah, that's better.
Okay. So you're comparing transgender to a belief. It's not a belief. Transgender is something that someone is born with. They're born in the wrong body. It's not something they just wake up and they just want to do it as a trend or whatever, right? I don't believe that. You can't compare the two. A belief is a belief. That's not a belief. I'm talking about science. And when you've got people from the left coming to me telling me that a trans woman is a woman, no, scientifically you're wrong. It's incorrect. The left to me seems silly. It's silly. You're saying the right is silly.
But scientifically, the animals can't fit on a boat. And again, I feel like you're missing what I'm saying. I'm saying that I don't agree with what you're saying, that it's silly. I would strongly disagree, just like you strongly disagree that I think the religion is silly. We disagree on what silly is here. Is silly. We disagree on what's silly. You're fine with people targeting legislation against them. And the thing that I think is silly, and the thing that I think that protect what I think is silly. So I'm just saying, if we're going down this road now where the government, I'm just asking you to be fair with your logic
across the board. If your logic is, if I think something's silly, the
board. If your logic is, if I think board, you hold that same standard.
I do. I have an issue with what Trump is doing with the whole anti-Semitic thing. Trump is doing with the whole anti-Semitic
investigations about Christians being persecuted.
All of it. I have an issue with it. Religion should not be in politics.
Okay.
Religion should not be in politics. I don't believe in that.
You sound like a lefty already.
No, I'm not. Stop saying that. Good Lord,
that's our belief. It's our belief.
You're offending me.
I know, but that's our belief system. Our belief system is that you get to be whoever the fuck you want, and the government doesn't get a say.
Look, I don't understand. What rights are they losing? What rights? What laws have been put in place to take rights away from transgender people?
Well, it depends so it would depend on
Give me one.
So it would depend on what you mean by rights. If you're talking about like stuff guaranteed in the Constitution, none. But specifically, like, let's look at the state of Oklahoma. The state of Oklahoma will not recognize trans people as the gender they identify with, but the state of Oklahoma will teach out of the Bible. Do you see how that's protections for your beliefs, but other people's beliefs, they cannot be recognized? You only recognize some beliefs?
But you're not understanding that RTP, being trans is not a belief.
To a lot of Republicans, it's a belief. I'm not saying it's a belief. I'm saying that if you're setting the standard, because I would agree that that we don't have like a perfect definition of what is a trans person. I don't think we have figured out gender entirely yet. I think there's a lot more studies that, I mean, every year we learn more about gender, and we learn more about different traits. We learn more scientifically about gender, and we learn more about sex. So I'm just saying that, like, if you're going to say, because the science you believe isn't settled on what it is, because you say, again, like a woman can't be a man. I'm just asking why some things where the science doesn't back it are okay to protect, but the stuff that Republicans are claiming science doesn't back, they're using that as an excuse not to offer protections to people who identify that way. It feels very hypocritical.
I see your point, but I don't see any rights being taken away from them. I'm sorry, I don't see any rights being taken away from them.
Well, so let's say this. Let's say that I were to like my.
I see your point, but I don't see any rights being taken.
Right, one of my parents was transgender. In school,
okay,
the other kids would not be allowed to learn that there are other things besides a mom and a dad, or kids that have two moms, or kids that have two dads. Right? That can't be taught in school. Why? Because your Christian beliefs tell you that there is just man and woman, and that that's how families are. So you say, like, we don't want this shoved down our kids' throats. So just keep our teachings in, that there's just man and woman. Keep that teaching, because we're comfortable with that, and we're not comfortable with this other teaching. And I don't think you ever stop to think, what does that say to the parents? That's invalidating their parents' relationship by not teaching the other children that there are people who exist outside of their religion.
But right now, children are learning that there's different family dynamics.
Are you opposed to that?
Have learned that. My kids have learned that from the beginning.
Are you opposed to that?
No, I'm not.
Like in school?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm not. I'm not opposed to that. That they know, my kids know, they learned in school that there's some families have two moms, some families have two dads, and some bullying aspect. And I agree with it. It's fine. It is what it is. Then I know how to deal with it at home as a parent. I don't need to be out in the streets screaming whatever.
But do you
When it
recognize that
comes to
some schools ban that activity?
The transgender issue, though, RTP, whether it's learned in school
Wait, could I
or
just ask
not.
a question about that real quick? Do you understand that there are schools, obviously not the schools your kids go to, but there are schools all over this country where even learning that there's anything more than just man and woman and mom and dad is forbidden. They can't teach it in school.
Only private schools.
No, public schools. You know,
Public schools
too.
where, RTP, please? Where?
Utah, where I grew up. My mom's a public school teacher.
How long ago?
You can't teach that in school.
How long ago?
She retired 2 years ago. And they actually just passed legislation in Utah banning trans people from playing sports despite having 0 trans athletes. They had a walkout at my mom's school over kids who were furries and that they were going to the bathroom in litter boxes. It didn't even happen. This is such a manufactured crisis, and I think that the main thing that is frustrating to me is that, once again, every conversation I ever have with a conservative, we spend 85% of the time talking about trans people, and we never get to the fact that Donald Trump is doing nothing for you, and that he is never talk about it, because all conservatives ever want to talk about is trans people.
No. Oh my goodness.
Doesn't it seem that way? Like, you're on TikTok.
Okay.
You see the other lives.
You asked me why I don't
hold on,
why I
Bill,
have an
just
issue
real
with the
quick.
left. That was one of the
Bill.
reasons. Go ahead.
Bill, real
Sorry.
hold on, no, my bad. So RTB, let me just run something for you. Of course, you're on the left. I'm right leaning now. So I'm gonna just run something by you, and let's see if we can see if she can kind of get this. Are you for individual freedom?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Well, are you for individual freedom?
Yeah, so I think everybody should have the same individual freedoms. Is that a fair way to answer that?
Yeah.
Sure.
Are
Not
you for
unlimited
limited
free. Like,
government?
some things you don't have the freedom to do, but yeah, everybody should have the same freedoms.
Yeah. So are you, let's say, for limited government?
I don't really care how limited the government. I'm for effective government. Some things the government does far more effective than the private sector, and in those cases, I want the government.
And is that earlier when she says, well, the left and the right, the disconnect comes in between the left and the right, because I would say 90% of the earlier when she says, well, I would say 90% of the if you look at the tenets of conservatism, all that, the left believes almost, I would say 90% of what the right believes. They believe in a core family. They believe in Second Amendment and all that. So when people say, well, they don't believe in this stuff, and I always ask them, why not, or where is it going? They just can't seem to answer it. Yeah, it's lagging because of people are reporting. I've got two freaking, yeah, if you can just tap so we get back on it. I apologize. There's nothing I can do. People reported me for sexual exploitation. I didn't even say nothing. Jay, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, she's on mute.
I'm sorry, Admiral. Go ahead. Repeat the question for me, please.
No, you get earlier. You were saying that the left doesn't believe what we believe in. I was just trying to understand, what do you mean by that?
Well, that was one of the things that I said. One of the things was that the left, everywhere on the left, especially on TikTok and whoever you talk to, they will preach and say that a trans woman is a woman, and I say a trans woman is a trans woman, period. And that's just one reason. There's plenty more. Plus, the left just makes me itch, Admir. I'm sorry.
But doesn't that, just respectfully, the fact that you can't pinpoint what makes you mad about the left, it should be alarming to you. That maybe you just, like, you don't like us on vibes. And look, I can appreciate that. You don't see me hanging out in a lot of left spaces. I think a lot of people that debate on TikTok, a lot of people that hang out for 12 hours a day on TikTok, they're not the happiest people. And I don't think I don't think TikTok is a good representation on most Republicans and most Democrats. In fact, the Republicans that I converse with outside of TikTok that I know on TikTok, the conversations go much better outside of TikTok. I don't think this is really who most people are. So I could understand like being opposition and really thinking that the other side is all like this, but I think TikTok amplifies all of this. And like what with Admir saying is when you break it down into legitimately what you agree on, I think one of the great things that currently the Republicans are doing, and I think that this has been historically both parties that do this from time to time, but when something is failing, when the government is failing massively, they try and get you to talk about social issues. And we are a country right now obsessed with social issues while we're going into debt, going further into debt. The party that just won said we're going to eliminate the debt, and they're increasing the debt. They're telling you they're going to increase the debt, and we can't get anybody to talk about it because we want to talk about every other fucking thing. And I think that that's the argument with trans people. I think that trans sports stuff can all be handled on a local level, and I think that you can find fair outcomes to accommodate everybody. We accommodate people for sports for all sorts of different reasons. People have asthma or people have to take insulin. There's things we do all the time on a local level to accommodate people who are just a little bit different than us. And rather than arguing about it on a national stage all the time, maybe we focus on the things that actually matter and let this stuff just be handled on a local level. Because locally, I think people come to good decisions together. And locally, you're not going to look at a kid and think of that kid as not human. It's much easier. It's much more difficult to treat a kid poorly when that kid is right in front of you, which is what I like about our school system, that it's done on a local level.
Absolutely.
I just don't know why we're always arguing about it.
Absolutely. I agree with you on some of that. But let me just make one more point because I have to leave after this. And
Yeah,
Mike is in the queue, Admir. My biggest issue with the left is this. Every organization that the left has infiltrated or taken over, I feel like they've completely destroyed it. Starting with the original feminists, the everything, you name it, BLM, the movement, compare it with the organization afterwards, you name it. Every organization that has started free, clear, and with good intentions, every time that the left has taken over, they have completely destroyed it, in my opinion. If you look at the original feminist movement, I could kind of agree and understand it and be with it. But with the feminists today, after the left took over, it's like the left, give the left a hand, they take an arm.
What'd they take?
Next, they're going to take a leg.
What did they take?
Or our spines. They just completely.
Does it concern you that you can't come up with like a specific answer for what they've ruined?
Oh, there's plenty. There's plenty, but I need to leave. I can't get into it. There's a lot. Especially next time, I would like to get into the whole feminist, the original feminist movement.
You're talking
compared to today's feminist
you're
movement.
kind of doing the same thing. You're talking about these fringe elements. Why don't we talk about the things that matter to us? A tax policy, the ability to have a family, to afford a home. Those are things that affect everybody. And it seems that your objections to this side of the aisle is mostly on your perception. And by the way, if you're getting your news from the right, you're only seeing the bad part of the left. You're seeing the stuff they want you to see that makes us look crazy, and we do it to you guys too. But I'm just...
Yo, you guys are a little
with all due respect, Marjorie Taylor Greene. You have Lauren. You have
I admit
Lauren
it.
Look, I admit some of the people on our
but
side go a little far. What I'm saying to you is like it's impossible to get you to talk about anything substantive. Every time I've tried to steer the direction or steer the conversation into something that affects,
I'm always in a hurry.
because we just tried to do it, and I just tried to steer it towards like economics, and you're like, well, I don't like feminists.
Well, I wasn't planning
That
on
doesn't
coming
mean
over,
that you
Jimmy.
can't
Next time we should plan it.
You're still choosing what to engage in, and you're engaging exclusively in stuff you think is icky.
Yeah, icky's an issue, RTP. You don't think icky's an issue?
Oh,
Icky's an issue for me. But anyways, you guys have an amazing night. I'm sorry I can't stay any longer. Next time I
Much
will
more
be,
prepared.
have a bit more time.
Yes.
More time. Oh, Mike is in the queue. Ciao, everybody.
See ya.
Ciao.
Bless it, Bill.
Wait, I gotta drop and come back. I can't hear anybody. Give me 1 sec.
Mike, how you
What's up,
doing, man?
Admir? Thanks for getting me up here, man.
No problem.
I'm
Anytime,
doing
and
good.
I know at least I know you at least will be respectful, and I know that you'll make good points.
No. I just came up here to call all the right commies and all the left, Schmittler lovers, man. I mean, we're just friendly fires on, dude. I don't.
Oh, God bless
What's up, RTP, man? I've been looking to talk to you.
What's
How
up,
you
dude?
doing, brother?
Good to meet you. I don't think we've talked before, right?
No, we haven't. I've seen you around. I've seen you around, and we probably know mutual people. I'm not a big TikTok debater. For similar reasons to what you just stated, people on TikTok want to get on here, and you're not in a room with this person. You know, most people just wouldn't speak to somebody like that in real life, and that's my problem with TikTok. Is you get up here, and if I start yelling at someone to tell them to calm down, it just ignites more yelling because we're not in person. So I just don't think TikTok, because everybody gets up here and yells, then your only defense is trying to yell louder.
Yeah.
So, Mike, I know that you are a big econ guy. So you want to get
I don't
into it?
know if I'm big, but I like econ. Yeah, we could talk econ. I'm teleporting right now. I'm heading home from a meeting. So RTP, I know you like to pull sources in front of you anyway, so I'd have to give them to you. I'm
That's
too
fine.
busy
Yeah, that works for
teleporting.
me. No problem. I can help you find anything that you need.
All right, so Mike,
How
you already
do
know
you
how
feel
this.
about the?
Mike, you already know how this works. I'm gonna go on mute. You started off, and then you guys can kind of take care of it. I don't think I'll need to even speak because it's you, so I'm not worried about it. So
Oh,
have a
sweet, man, sweet. Well, it's yeah. This is just a conversation, RTP. If there's anything on your mind before I start it, dude, you're welcome to bring it up.
No, man, have at it.
How do you feel about this transition that we're seeing to MMT? And I'm seeing it come from the right and the left. Everybody just is fine with running massive deficits.
Well, I think it's cowardice. I think nobody it's never popular to run on raising taxes, so nobody does it.
Do you think that it's just a political aspect of it, where people don't want to say something that could ruin the midterms for them, and that's why they don't run on that? Or do you think that it comes down to the idea that we just have some bureaucrats that probably shouldn't be in office? These are people who just want to achieve specific agendas and take care of lobbyists.
No, I don't think it's that, because money is appropriated by Congress, and it's pretty transparent where that money's going. And the American people don't seem to care about spending, but they do care about taxes. So if you're running for office, it's going to be pretty unpopular to go out and tell the American people that we need to do two things. We need to increase taxes and we need to cut spending. And good luck winning an election on that platform.
I mean, I could agree with that. I don't think anybody would vote for them at that point. But on the other hand, though, I feel like there's a lot of substance to what I was saying. I feel like this big push we're seeing to move into the idea that debts and deficits are okay. One, I don't think it's sustainable, and I think you could agree with that. I don't know what's going to happen in June, because if we can't refinance this debt and reason why we're continuously running these deficits is because of the lifelong bureaucrats have these agendas to fill. And I think spending is worried about just fulfilling these campaign promises and these backroom deals that they've set forward with people that they might be in bed with inside of big tech or big pharma or whatever the case might be.
Yeah, I think blaming bureaucrats to me feels a lot like blaming the referees. They have almost nothing to do with it. Like, the bureaucrats are people that are career civil servants, and they are required to spend the money as it comes to them, like as it's appropriated to them. They're nothing more than HR. This is kind of like a better analogy would be blaming HR for the problems that the CEO created. The reality is Congress approves this money, and Congress is the one that are taking these bribes from corporations, and Congress is the one that keeps telling them, "Don't worry, we won't raise your taxes. Don't worry, we'll cut you in to loopholes. Don't worry, we'll give you preferential treatment when it comes to trade and tariffs. I think that one of the best things Republicans have done politically is figure out a way to scapegoat a bunch of HR people into the problem.
You know what? I could agree with that. I could get behind that. I guess my problem would lie with Congress at that point in time. Then I could get behind that.
Yeah, and then
Do
it
you
boils
feel-
down to nobody ever raises taxes. Why don't we ever raise taxes?
I'm not a raising tax guy, dude. I'm really not.
How else do you get rid of
a
the
couple
deficit?
reasons. I think we should cut our military spending. Truthfully, I know a lot of people on my side don't like to hear that, but I mean, big reason why we have the military spending that we do, and this is my opinion. TikTok, don't take this as fact, but we love to go over to other countries promising to bring democracy, and instead what we do is we topple over foreign governments to try and achieve our own end goal and do what's best in our special interest. And I feel like a big reason why our spending on, at least for the military industrial complex, is so high is specifically because if we aren't the two things that I think really keep America reserve currency, and then we're the number one superpower in the world. And that's the only reason we never get the bill or we never get the ticket for running around. I mean, all over the Middle East, just doing whatever we feel like we want to do. You know, same thing with any of the three-letter agencies that, to some degree, almost act completely independent from our government.
Yeah, you fuck the deep state. I agree with you. I do think though that in the last, I don't know, since Bush, it has been. I mean, I was a Republican. I'm not anymore, but as long as I was a Republican, we were always advocating for more military spending. Every Republican president that gets in there spends more on the military. So I guess like I would question if, because Republicans generally say this. In fact, Trump ran on not wanting to be the world's police, but then when it comes time to decide if we're going to be the world's police or not, we just always choose to be the world's police. And here we have in this Republican bill, they're advocating for more defense spending. They want another, I think it was like another $200 billion.
I haven't read all that much into it. I'd be curious to though. What bill are you referring to? And I'll do some research.
The big beautiful bill. I don't remember the name of it. The spending bill.
Somebody dropped that in Discord earlier. They did a summary of it through Grok or some other AI. Maybe I'll go through and read that summary, and if there's anything that piques my interest, I'll actually take the time to go pull it from.
Yeah, by their own projections, best case scenario, they add $1.5 trillion to the deficit. That's best case scenario. That's if everything goes right, which it's the government. That's not going to happen.
1.5, you said?
Yeah, well, I think it's 1.7 trillion.
Yeah. I'm not. I wouldn't be interested in that at all.
Well, it's probably going to pass. Republicans are going to pass it.
Well, I mean,
it probably won't pass the filibuster in the Senate. It probably won't pass the Senate, but it's probably going to pass the House.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I'm really not happy with anything that I've seen come through Congress recently. And the things that I am happy about, we haven't done anything for. Thomas Massey went out and proposed the Doge cuts, and we can go all night if those Doge cuts were, actually held any weight to what they were saying. But we had an opportunity to cut spending, and we did. We also had it stated in law from the previous CR that we were supposed to cut 1% of spending across the board, and we didn't do that. We're still on the C-19 budget, as far as I'm concerned. What do you mean we can't cut spending? We're on the C-19 budget. We are no longer in a pandemic. We can't cut a dollar anywhere. Are you shitting me?
So I mean, I guess then, like, if this is important to you, how the hell are you a Republican? I know Democrats aren't good at this either, but you go back and look at Trump versus Biden, even with COVID spending. I mean, this guy accelerates the deficit. It's what Republicans always do because they cut taxes while they increase spending, and Democrats usually keep taxes the same while increasing spending, so they don't raise the deficit as quickly.
If we're going to deficit spend because we genuinely believe that we can just print money out of thin air and just force credit into the system, if we can over liquefy, I would rather have people be able to retain more money in their pocket. That makes more sense to me.
But they can't. The only people that, like, our tax code is so fucked that the only people who are able to take advantage of the tax code are the ultra wealthy, and then that means less money, less currency, less wealth is in circulation, less access to capital on a per capita basis. The consolidation of wealth is what's killing this country. You can't. It's so hard to start a small business right now. And if you do start a small business, everybody's goal is to be acquired. Nobody's making a small business now to run it for the rest of their life and maybe turn it over to their kids. You start a business so that you can get acquired. Our economy makes no sense. Nobody's copying it. There's a reason everybody in the world that's accelerating past us has everybody's done it for the rest of their life. I mean, the economy makes no sense. Nobody with high taxes and massive social spendings for education, for healthcare, for infrastructure. You go to China, you have Wi-Fi everywhere. You go to China, you get it for an education for basically free. You go to China, you can
Maybe
have
I
a
need to go to
one-income
China to get
Yeah, but
household.
better internet. Sorry.
Yeah,
but to be fair, China has a bunch of problems on its own, and I don't think that we
Sure.
should advocate to live the life of an average U.S. Chinese citizen, right?
No, I'm
And to
saying
be
you
fair
take the stuff
too,
they do well. We can just learn from the things other countries do
but a lot of
well.
the stuff that they do well is also because they do bad operation. The Chinese government automatically has to stake themselves in it. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into that.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff because if you go over a decent sized stuff, and I'm not fully in favor of it. I'm more of a small government guy. I really am.
Sure.
My thing when we started crying about the CR bill, my immediate CR bill, who's going to spy on us then? Like, I'm not a fan of what these guys have been doing for a long time. And as far as taxes go, if we're just going to deficit spend beyond all belief, I'd rather see that, because I went through and I did a bunch of research. I went through and I did stock buybacks, and really it was hit and miss. Like, some of them did it, some of them didn't do
Why are
it.
you using stock buybacks to measure wealth inequality?
Because when we did tax cuts, one of the biggest things that people said. Because when we did tax cuts, one of the biggest things that people said, they said, "Well, let's go see who's doing stock buybacks." Because the corporation's fiducial duty is to try and make sure shareholders turn out well.
Why don't you just look at wealth inequality, though? Is my question.
Well, I've looked at that too. So
Okay, is wealth inequality is the gap between the rich and the middle class getting bigger or smaller?
It shrunk under Trump, according to the Federal Reserve. It shrunk, not by much, but it did shrink.
It didn't. It did not. It absolutely did not. We had the largest
held by class.
No, I'm looking at wealth inequality.
Yeah, pull the wealth held by class graph from the Federal Reserve. That shows how much each class is. Look over that graph. That shows you that actually the bottom 50% began to hold more wealth. The top 10% did too, but not at the same rate. We shrunk the gap in there.
Let me pull it up.
And you can see it if you look. The other place that you'd be able to see it too.
Where am I going to find this chart? You said this was from the Federal Reserve. So am I looking at
wealth by wealth percentile? Look up that on Google.
What about distribution of household wealth? Wouldn't that give us the idea?
That'd be another one too.
Okay, so if I'm looking at distribution by household, Q1 of 2017,
the top 1% held 11.5 trillion, and the middle class, which is 50 to 90%,
held 26 trillion. So they held 15, let's call it 15, just a little under $15 trillion more in wealth than the top 0.1%. And so you're saying that number will shrink when I get to January of 2021?
It won't shrink. This is a nominal graph, so all numbers will go up, but the actual difference will, the actual percentage difference will shrink. Yeah. So at the top 10%, right? And you can see it visually when you look at the graph, but at the top 10% had 10% more of wealth, right? All numbers will go up because this graph is nominal.
We're talking about, you're comparing the top 10%? Sorry, I was looking at the top 0.1. You want me to compare the numbers from the top 10%?
You can look at the graph any way you want, truthfully. You can look at the graph any way you want, but the bottom 50% of our economy did gain wealth faster than everybody above them. So we did see people moving in that direction. Therefore, it shrunk the wealth inequality. Because if the bottom 50% is acquiring wealth faster than everybody else above them, then that's automatically shrinking the actual gap that we have there. Also,
Hold
we
on, let me.
created bridges at that time that would allow people to be able to transfer in between classes, which is something that we hadn't seen a lot of. But during COVID, we had regular Joes just fucking starting e-commerce stores and just becoming millionaires. So we created a couple bridges that allowed for people to transition their lifestyle and move between classes, and that's important too. People should be able to scale up in this country.
So you're saying that because the bottom 50%, which wouldn't be the middle class, right? That would be the poor, right?
The bottom 50, I would say the bottom 50 would include the middle class too. Yeah. I wouldn't say
So
that the
you,
bottom 50% of our economy is poor. No, I would say the bottom 50 would be the poor and the middle class.
so you're saying because they doubled in wealth, the bottom 50% doubled in wealth, and you want me to compare that to the top 10%, right? Which was
Yeah.
50, 79, 89 trillion versus 27 plus 35, 52. 76. Okay.
Just while
Yeah.
he's
I mean,
doing
I
that,
look. I don't think that really. Yeah. Sure. Their wealth went up, but if you look at the top 0.1% versus the like the middle class in total, there, like the gap between the poor and the rich is much higher now than it was in 2017, and it's basically leveled out. But the gap has grown.
Jay, are you
Well,
able
the
to?
gap has grown. The gap
Like let's just say the easiest statistic
the gap
possible
has
is
grown
that
post
one
Trump,
guy.
though, right? It didn't grow. That's what I'm saying. Is the gap, right? The wealth inequality gap actually shrunk under Trump. Post Trump, we've seen different things happening. I will agree, but under Trump's first term, we did watch the actual gap between classes shrink. And that's important, right? So
Well,
what I'm
I think
arguing
that what
for
you're
is that
doing is
was the first president we've seen that happen
so
under. That
well,
didn't even happen under Reagan.
yeah, and the contraction happened when?
The contraction
What
in the
year?
gap.
What year did we see the contraction?
18, 19, and 20. I mean, you
No,
just
it
said
went
yourself
up.
too.
It
Their
went
wealth
up
did
in
go up.
18. It went up in 19. It contracted in 20. We had one quarter of contraction in 2018 from Q3 to Q4, and then it rose again, and then it contracted with COVID. Now, Q3. Let's see. Was that the one? Q3, Q4. That's a COVID drop there, right?
In Q3, Q4 of 20.
No, Q4 to Q1, Q4 of 2019 to Q1 of 2020, and I think COVID started in like November or something of 20 November or something of.
Officially in a pandemic.
Okay, so that's where we had the contraction, and then you saw a massive acceleration at that point, right?
We were contracting before then too. I'm trying to remember. Like I said,
It was just in 18.
We contracted as well. 19.
I think
I
you're
know
thinking
we
of
contracted
18.
as well too.
I think you're thinking of 18.
So, but we did have contractions, and that's actually the only place on that graph that you can see any sort of contractions. There's
No,
nowhere else that gap.
No, there was a contraction from 2022 to Q1 of 2022 all the way through Q4 of 2022. Almost an entire year of contraction.
The gap between those classes contracted in 22?
Yeah.
Huh. That's interesting. I don't remember that.
It contracted at the top quicker than it contracted at the bottom.
That's interesting. I don't remember that. But I mean, I would still argue that some of that would be tied to the TCJA, because that's when we started seeing the contraction start, was once we started reaping the rewards of the TCJA.
No.
I mean, I don't really have anything else to point to.
The TCJA is still in effect. How can you say it contracted under Trump because of the TCJA, but then it expanded under Biden under the exact same tax code?
Because now we've had other things that are in play. Now we have the TSMC investment. Now we have a ton of investment that's on towards infrastructure.
What does that have to do with wealth inequality? What does that have to do with wealth inequality?
That's recognized.
Wait, hold on.
That's recognized under.
We're talking about wealth inequality.
Yeah, that's recognized under privatized investing. So the Fed does a chart that shows privatized investing, and it's
wait, hold on. Listen, with all due respect,
it's relevant.
Mike, you have talked
so much. Just let me get some questions in. I'm just asking you questions, okay? Is that fair? I'm
Yeah,
letting
man,
you talk.
go for it.
Okay. When when you're talking now about these other acts, what do they have to do with wealth inequality?
If we're giving money to people, right? That would literally raise those people's income. That would give them wealth. That's how they gain wealth.
Okay, but we gave money to everybody.
Not at the same rate. We didn't give.
Yeah, rich people got a lot more money and they got their loans forgiven. People that owned businesses, people who ran businesses were able to get way more money. You and I, we just got like 2 checks.
That's kind of adding to my argument. My argument is that
What?
the TCJA started this off where we started seeing contractions. Okay, and the reason that contractions are no longer really doing justice is because we've had a ton of stuff go on that allowed for the top 1% of wealth, or for the top 1% of people to be able to gain more wealth at a faster rate, which is why the gap is growing again.
Now you're
That's why
confusing wages with wealth. Wages and wealth are different things.
wages help make. Hold on, wages and wealth are go hand in
Mike,
hand.
for the love
Wages
of
help
God,
make up wealth.
Mike, every time I start talking, you interrupt. I'm really trying hard not to interrupt you. Can I get a sentence out, please?
Yeah, go for it, man.
So when you look at people's wealth, like the thing that makes up most of people's wealth, like my wealth, most of my wealth is my house. So when you see the cost of living or the cost of houses from 2018 all the way through like midway, almost till the end of the pandemic, you saw that the price of housing massively go up, which rose a lot of people's wealth, right? But the difference is the liquidity of the wealth, and 2, what you can do with that wealth. If I have a house, there's not a lot I can do with the equity in my house to accelerate my wealth, unless I'm going to take out like a second mortgage and I'm going to invest that in something else. But with people like Elon Musk, for example, he was able to take the equity in his stock and literally buy Twitter and didn't put any money down, which massively accelerated his wealth accumulation. When you get to that level of wealth where you're taking out 0 interest loans and you can buy companies without any money just off of the value of your stock, it's much easier. I know you're familiar with compound interest. Everybody knows the more money you have, the easier it is to make more money. That's how compound interest works. That's what's happening in this country. We have compound interest, and that's why the gap between the middle class and the wealth has never been larger.
Yeah, I can agree. Compound interest is used. My argument though was separate from that. I misspoke and said wages. But wealth itself, right? Wealth comes from investing. And if we look at like things like fucking the infrastructure bill, if we look at like the Chips and Science Act, that all went into under the privatized sector as investing. The Fed tracks that. They do a graph, right? So when we give corporations a bunch of money, okay, and people then start to take that money, they start to actually leverage that money on other things, that in itself would help create them more wealth. That's why my argument is the reason that we stopped the contraction and we started seeing the gap widen again is due to government intervention and investing in privatized corporations, where a lot of that money, which we both agree on, can be used as leverage to grow more wealth.
Yeah, no, it's every bit of what.
Oh yeah,
it flows
it all
up.
wound back up at the top 1%.
Yeah, that's why I think we need to fundamentally change our system and have a progressive tax system where all of this wealth can't just be accumulated at the top. Like Jeff Bezos just flew his plastic girlfriend and her 4 celebrity friends into space for the fuck of it. And we got people who can't afford to like pay for their kids' school lunch. That's a bad system. It's a really bad system.
I'm in agreement. I think we should change the tax system too. I'm just not in favor of a progressive tax. I'm in favor of a consumption tax. I think everybody here should be calling their rep right now and telling them to vote for HR 25. A consumption tax makes a bunch of sense to me.
That's regressive.
A consumption tax?
It's extremely regressive.
If we can't tax people on their incomes, wouldn't it make sense to tax them on their spending? Because these people on paper aren't making anything, but they're spending a bunch.
No, that would massively accelerate wealth inequality. That's going to hurt the middle class and the poor. If you have to pay right now, you don't have to pay. Even a lot of states don't even have a sales tax, but your tax is limited if you want to go buy groceries. You think we should add a tax onto groceries? Most of these people that would be paying that tax, like 50% of Americans pay no income tax.
So HR
So we should raise
25
the
is
taxes on those people who are barely getting by and then expect that the billionaires are going to spend enough money. We would go bankrupt tomorrow. We would cease to exist within a year if we did a consumption tax.
so HR 25 isn't adding a consumption tax while maintaining other taxes that are already on. It's a removal of all taxes and just putting in a consumption tax. And the consumption tax, I genuinely believe it was a good idea. Think about it. It'd be the first time ever in American history we could tax the black market. It'd be the first time ever. I mean, billionaires on paper are being taxed right
Wait,
now.
well, how would you tax the black market?
Consumption taxes would work also on things like Venmo and stuff like that, ATM withdrawals, things like that. It'd be considered.
Oh, that's not okay. I thought you meant like buying illegal things. Black market usually is buying illegal things.
Yeah. But
Well, you can already
if you pull out money,
you can
to
already
go down the
collect.
street.
They already collect taxes on PayPal and Venmo. And by the way, this administration just got rid of the CFPB. You guys are gutting all those. This administration is gutting all those regulations so that Facebook and Google and Twitter can all be payment processors without the protections that we afford consumers through the banks. Everything you're talking for, like your party's advocating for the exact opposite.
No. The consumption tax, I'm in favor of it, and the reason why I say a consumption tax would make sense to tax the black market, right? We're adding taxability to Venmo for huge amounts of transactions done, right? This is somebody who's probably an everyday user of Venmo, like maybe you or me. I don't send anything more than like 10 grand on Venmo every year. So for somebody like us, right, if we're pulling out 20 or 40 bucks to go down to the local club and buy something from a guy, we would automatically be taxed on that. It'd be the only way to tax people who are partaking in black market. Why
don't we just tax rich people?
Well, that's what I'm saying is how else would you tax them? These guys on paper
We tax rich people. We could close loopholes. We could, if we legitimately just made the 1% pay 37% like they're supposed to, and not have people like Elon Musk paying $0 in taxes, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. You guys want to reinvent the wheel? Just close the fucking loopholes. Just make rich people actually pay taxes. Make churches pay taxes. Why are churches exempt from paying taxes? The church I grew up in has hundreds of billions of dollars that is untaxed. And right now they're going around buying real estate tax-free and hoarding real estate, and they don't have to pay taxes. What if we just taxed people instead of trying to reinvent the wheel all the time?
I'm in agreement with you. That's what I'm saying. Instead of reinventing the wheel, let's close all loopholes. If you spend money,
I said that.
tax them on it, right?
Wait, hold on. You said do a consumption tax.
That's what I'm in agreement. I'm in agreement with, have write-offs at that point. If you have a consumption tax, right?
What would the percentage of a consumption tax be? What would the percentage of a consumption tax be?
I'd love to give you the number. I don't remember what it is from HR 20. I'd love to give you the number. I don't remember. I can
is it
ballpark it for you.
10%? I'm
pretty sure it was around.
So these billion, somebody that's a okay. So somebody that makes $1 billion in a year, they're supposed to pay
37%, right? So they should pay $370 million.
You're telling me that same billionaire is going to buy enough stuff to pay $370 billion in consumption taxes? I don't think so.
Well, hold on. Let's back up here a little bit, right? Consumption taxes are not just on a personal side. They're not just on like a W-2 side. Consumption taxes.
I'm talking about a person who makes $1 billion. I'm talking about I'm using a specific example. I'm talking about a person whose personal income tax is $1 billion, a 15% flat fee, and you think that with that 15%, you're going to get that person to pay you're going to get that person to pay $370 million into taxes? There's no way, man. There's no way. It's regressive.
Again, I didn't have the number. Like I said, I ballparked that.
Well, let's say it's 30%. Let's say it's 50%.
But hold on, man. Hold on. I feel like my argument's not being represented properly here.
No, here's the argument that needs to be had. Hold on, real quick. In order for this to not be a regressive tax, the same impact broadly across poor, middle class, wealthy, rich, ultra rich. In order for it to not be regressive, you would have to show that it impacts everybody the same way. If it impacts the middle class less than it impact or more than it impacts the rich, then by definition it is regressive.
It couldn't impact the middle class more than it impacts the upper class. So
wait,
consumption taxes. Hold on. Let me get this out, man, please. Consumption taxes, right, make sense in the idea that we're upset that Elon Musk is claiming that he made $750 last year, and that's what he's paying taxes on. But Elon Musk's spending was probably closer to, I don't know, 300 million, right? So therefore, if the problem is that we can't tax their spending, we can only tax their income. Let's stop worrying about income and what they put down on paper, and let's tax them on what they spent. Not only them, right? But this would be a way to actually tax trust, because trust, there's so many things going on with trust that we
why
can't
don't we
tax,
just
right?
tax them?
Therefore,
Why don't we just
at
close
that
their
point,
loopholes? Why are you coming up with a whole new
this would
policy?
this would close their loopholes. What
Why
loophole
not
would you
just
have? What
no?
would you
But
write
why
off at
not
that point? How do you
just
write
close?
stuff off?
No, but why not just close the loophole? That's it. Closing the loopholes is a better tax plan than what you're suggesting right now.
I would disagree.
Well, yours
I would
is
100%
regressive.
disagree.
Well, it's
Because the other
regressive.
thing, well, no, but I
Is
would
it? What,
disagree
can we
because
not agree that it's
consumption
regressive?
taxes also. No, I disagree. Consumption taxes. The other thing that we're not taking into factor
Bro,
here
you
is that
can't.
on paper, I get
Hold
what
on.
you're
We
saying.
can't go past this. We can't just keep moving on where you say it's not regressive. Using my example earlier, a person that makes $1 billion. Do you think a person who makes $1 billion, is there any percentage of a consumption tax that you could levy on that person that would raise $370 million?
So you're saying they'd have to spend 100% of their income? Is that what you're arguing
In
for
order
to be able to reach that amount?
in order to match the exact same amount as if we closed the loopholes. In order for them to match the same amount by just closing the loopholes, yes, they would have to spend 100% of their income. That's why it's regressive. Nobody's going to spend 100% of their income except for people who are barely making it and are forced to spend 100% of their income.
What is the average? Just out of curiosity, right?
Right
I
or
get what
wrong
you're
on that?
saying. They would
Can I
have
say,
to.
is that math right or wrong?
On paper, but the issue that I have with that though is that is that you're trying to say the way that we would get this fair tax out of them is they'd have to spend 100% of their income. Here's the issue though, right? Is that I would disagree, because if we take into account all their corporations that are getting tax write-offs, where their effective tax rate is closer to, I don't know, maybe 12%.
Why are we including the
Their
corporation?
personal, because their corporations would fall
No,
under
we're only
consumption tax
talking about
too.
income tax. This is after this $1 billion that they make in this scenario is after their corporations have already paid all of their taxes.
You would need to factor in consumption tax for their corporations too, because
Why?
most people don't buy things out of their personal pocket. They buy it through corporations and
The
trusts.
corporate
So
tax
you'd
affects
have to
everybody.
take in.
No, the corporate tax affects everybody in the corporation, not just the owner, not just the CEO. It affects everybody from top to bottom. They factor that in how much they pay people. They factor in their taxes already. You keep trying to bring in these extra factors. I've already eliminated those factors. I'm only talking about income tax. Let's say this person doesn't have a corporation. Let's say this is just Warren Buffett, who's an incredible trader, and they make $1 billion in trading stocks. That person, in order to meet the threshold of a non-loophole 37%, in order for them to pay that 37%, they would have to spend 100% of their income. You're adding things that aren't relevant in order to try and make an argument that just like mathematically doesn't work.
No, I'm not. I'm trying to look at this very big picture here, right? And the idea is that if they're paying 10% tax on all 5 of their corporations, and then them themselves are paying 10% tax, if we just charge all of it a 13% tax and include spending across the board for all of it, you'd get more tax revenue because you'd have a bigger base to go off of.
No.
You're trying to turn this argument into one specific individual, and that's not how rich people operate. Rich people operate through trust and everything else. So they're spending 99% of the time does not come out of their own pocket.
All that
and
shit you just said, that's not,
you
just said,
close
wait,
the loopholes. You can't.
You just, no, if you
Explain
close
to me
the
how you would close it.
You literally, I don't know, like this is Schoolhouse Rock. You write a bill in Congress to change the tax code, and you cut out the loopholes, and then it goes through Congress and law.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
how.
Let's run this. Let's run
Same
this
way
theory
that
down.
you,
Okay.
it's the same exact way. Wait, Mike, hold on. It's the same exact way you would get the law you're suggesting put into place. And by the way, this flat tax, it's not even going to pass the Republican House because everybody knows it's regressive and everybody knows it would bankrupt us overnight.
You have phenomenal economists that are co-signing this. I disagree with that.
Who's the phenomenal economist that's co-signing HR 25?
Peter Schiff, Michael Burry. I mean, literally, these are guys who called the '08 housing bubble. In fact, they're the most two notorious people for calling the '08 housing bubble. Not a single guy on the Keynesian or on the classical side called it. It was all the Austrian economists that called it.
I'm not seeing anything where Peter Schiff is endorsing the HR 25. I also want to say this. I'm a big fan of Michael Burry. Michael Burry has missed about every fucking prediction since the financial crisis, though. He's over. He's really struggling on his predictions. So I love Michael Burry. I appreciate everything he did. But where are these sources that Peter Schiff is endorsing HR 25? Where's this source?
Peter Schiff has talked about a consumption tax for a long time. He has a couple. He talked about it. Peter Schiff has always been in favor of a consumption tax.
Okay, well,
and the other thing is too, and the other thing is too, right? Is here's my issue: is you. If I start a company, hold on. If I start a company, no.
It's like an hour.
You keep cutting me off, man. I just want to ask your question.
That's your fourth question in this sentence.
I haven't even asked the question.
You've asked 3 others.
What were my other questions, RTP? I haven't asked any other ones. What were they?
Go ahead.
What were my other questions? I haven't asked it.
You did. You said, how can you tax somebody who operates multinationally? And I tried to answer that, and you got mad at me.
Yeah, I was gonna give you the example that I wanted answered. That's the only question I've asked, and I wanted you to answer my example.
I didn't know at the end of your question you were gonna add more stuff. That's fair to me.
Oh yeah. If you are a corporation, right, in let's say Italy, right, and then what you do is you start a subcorp over here in America, and then you rent that brand name from Italy. How do you close that loophole? Because I take in all the money here, and then what I say is, oh, I'm sorry, I have to rent my brand from my sister company in Italy, so I really didn't make all this money. I have to pay it all back to be able to own this brand. How do you apply those taxes? Do you then just tell fucking the France government, like, fuck you? Like, how do you do that?
Brother, if you sell something in France, France collects taxes. And if you sell something in America, America collects taxes. And if you sell something in Canada, Canada collects taxes. This isn't a thing. You're just, I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about right now.
Okay, so what I'm talking about is, let's take Nike, for example. Let's say Nike, okay, has a corporation in France. Let's say they have a corporation over there, okay? Let's say they want to start another corporation here. So they start a corporation over here and they name it, I don't know, Bowman Shoes. And then what they do is they rent the brand name Nike from the company in France. They rent that brand name, right? So that now we have a Nike, which is really Bowman France here in America, but they're renting that brand. Okay, they make all this money, and at the end of the year, the IRS says, you've made X amount of money, we want the taxes for it. What
to Bowman? To Bowman?
Yeah, yep, to Bowman.
Yeah,
and
so
Bowman
they would
says,
just tax
hold
Bowman.
on, technically though, we're not Nike. Technically, we're Bowman, and we have to rent the Nike brand from France. So you can't tax us on all this money because we owe this money to a corporation over in France.
That
Corporations do that. No, they do. I do that. What they do?
What the hell just happened?
I don't know, but corporations do that all the time. I can list off a handful of them right now.
Yeah, let me just ask you something. I think you got a phone call or something.
I'm not a tariff guy. I'm a free market guy. I'm not crazy. I can get on board only because
Tumblr made a good argument for it, but I can get on board.
Did he get reported? No way he got reported.
If anybody here is on my side that reported RTP, I hope you fucking that was bullshit. This is like one of the first good conversations I've had, and fucking you guys report it. That's fucking bullshit.
All right. Can I answer now?
No, you're good now. Go ahead, man.
Okay. Bowman would pay all the taxes, and Bowman can't tell the government that because they rented the name that they can't tax them. You get taxed on your sales. This argument doesn't make any fucking sense.
It's a business expense. They're renting
No,
their
it's
name
not.
from
No,
a
it's not.
corporation overseas. So if
No.
the government says, I don't care, pay
Are
our
they
taxes.
selling a product? Are they selling a product?
Is Bowman? Yeah, Bowman would sell products.
What are they
yes.
selling?
Shoes. They're Nike shoes.
They're selling. So this would be like if Bowman was like Foot Locker. Do you think Foot Locker pays taxes in the United States, or does Foot Locker say, "Sorry, we're not China," or "Sorry, we're not Nike. We don't have to pay taxes"?
No, that's not my argument. My argument is that they use it as a business write-off, right? They use it as debt because you can write debt off.
Brother, you cannot write off the taxes that you're owed on sales. What are you talking about, brother? I'm just telling you, don't know. You have no clue what you're talking about right now. This is silly.
Hold on. Okay, so McDonald's, for example, right? McDonald's makes $1 million a year, and then all the money that they have to pay to be a franchise to McDonald's Corporation, they get to use that to literally lessen their effective tax rate. They
Is
write all
McDonald's
of that
based in
off.
France or the United States?
They're based in America, but what my argument is
what are they
that we
writing?
do
Wait,
the
hold on,
same
hold on,
thing with other corporations.
Hold on, because I've owned a franchise. Have you ever owned a franchise?
Actually.
Okay,
I do.
so you have
not a franchise, no, but I am a business owner, and I wouldn't
Okay,
say
well then
I'm
just
small.
say no. Just say no, and I'm going to talk now. I have owned a franchise, and you pay a franchise fee, or you pay a percentage of royalties as your franchise fee, or a percentage of profit for your franchise fees. In McDonald's, it's like I think you pay for the store, I think you pay rent, and then there's like a certain amount that you also have to pay off your total revenue. And yes, we have carved out loopholes for people to write off their franchise fees. However, if the franchise fee that I was writing off happened to go to France, and it was a company in France, I would need a certificate so that I could write that off. And it's possible that some of these companies that does exist, and this would all be solved if you cut the loopholes. You keep saying that we can't have this system that I want of getting rid of the loop, taxing people at 37%, and then you're like, but we can have this system that we would have to pass through Congress, and we'd also have to make sure there were no loopholes. That sounds a lot harder than just cutting out the loopholes. If we're going to cut out the loopholes, let's just cut out the loopholes. What you're advocating for benefits poor people, like, by the way, Peter Schiff. And by the way, I've been reading about Peter Schiff, and Peter Schiff also recognizes that if we switch to a consumption tax in our current state, that it is unsustainable. He advocates in a perfect system for a consumption tax, but in our current market, and he doesn't believe in taxing people's wealth, only their earned income. So under Peter Schiff's policy, somebody like Elon Musk would still pay nothing.
Couple things. Again, right? If we switch the tax system and close loopholes, right? What are you going to do with all these overseas companies or franchise owners
Why not just close
that can't
the
get
loopholes?
paid because we force them to pay
You're
here
not
in
answering my
America?
question.
How do you deal with that?
You keep avoiding my
I just gave you a reason of why we cannot close that.
Why would we? If your system allows us to close the loopholes, why can't we just close the loopholes and then not do your shitty system?
Because my system wouldn't close that. My system would still allow them to pay that money. They just have to pay taxes on it now.
Well, why don't we just make them pay taxes and close the loophole?
No, you keep saying close the loophole, right?
Loopholes.
And out of curiosity,
Multiple loopholes.
Yeah, correct. You keep saying close these loopholes. It doesn't make any sense. First off, when you say, well, let's just close the loophole and just tax them on it here in America, if we tax them, okay, at a full rate, and they're unable to then pay cross nationalized I'm sorry, that was the wrong word. If we close these loopholes now, okay, and we say pay here in America, and international corporations then can't get paid because we force them to pay American.
Why is that a problem?
It'd be a problem that they don't pay their. That's a problem.
No. Why would it make it so that they couldn't pay their partners? Why didn't they build that into their business model?
Because you're
They're
advocating
too
now. You're
Are
saying
they
that
too
these
stupid?
people. No,
They're
I'm
too
not saying
stupid to
that.
do
But
that?
what I'm
Oh,
saying
okay.
is that when people do year-end fiscal projections, right? When they do things like that, and they decide how to set up their budget, they decide how to scale and things like that.
Uh-huh.
Okay, when you go into Congress and you decide we're just going to fucking tax the shit out of these guys beyond all belief and raise their effective tax rate to
No, keep
37%,
their tax
they
keep
didn't
their
have
tax
that
rate the
factored
same.
in when they did year-end fiscal projections.
Well, we shouldn't have let them write the tax law. Sorry, I think it's their turn to suffer now.
I can
They wrote
agree,
the
but
they wrote the
but
tax.
you'd
They
run businesses
Mike,
out of
every time I open my mouth, you keep talking. It's getting crazy at this point. I would love to just get a response out where I don't have to yell over you. If you keep saying this is a good conversation, I've got news for you. This has not been a good conversation. It has been you talking a lot, and we're getting
Dude,
nowhere.
I've listened to you talk a bunch. What do you? This has been fair. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, man. I thought it's
All
been
right,
pretty
all right,
fair,
all right.
bro.
Hold on. Time out.
You,
Hold on. Time out, Jay. Mike, just so you know, Jen is back, and yeah, good luck, bro.
Jen's nice. No, look, you just keep saying the same thing over and over. You think that the right thing to do is to end these loopholes by putting in a new tax policy that is by definition regressive. If you can look at any budget analysis of what a regressive tax would do with our current spending, it would require, and you know this, it would require massive spending cuts. Massive spending cuts. And I think that there's some spending we need to hold on to. I think we should do spending cuts and cut out the loopholes. I don't know why you think we need to reinvent the wheel. There's other countries who do this much better than us, and they pay higher taxes. Like Sweden, for example. They pay much higher taxes than us. But at the end of the month, they have more money left over. Because the government actually is able to take that money that they spend or that they give in taxes, and they're actually able to provide them services at a cheaper, more effective rate than the private market because there's no profit motive. Things like healthcare, things like school. And we can't have those good things because we keep having all these rich people who think that the solution to all our problems is to let people keep more money. Well, people aren't that responsible with their money, and people make stupid decisions with money. And what we've learned is that the more we allow this to be the wild, wild west, and the more we allow rich people to write the laws, the more the laws get written in a way that favors the rich people, and we get to where we're at now, where if you're rich, you're going to be rich the rest of your life. The youngest 20 billionaires in this country, they all inherited their wealth. That's insane. That's a bad system. It needs to be fixed, and a consumption tax won't fix any of that. It'll make rich people richer.
Okay, you keep saying that we need to raise taxes, and you keep saying we need to close loopholes. What
I've
percentage
never said
do you
raise
think we
taxes.
should?
I've
At the
never
start
said
of the
raise
conversation,
taxes.
you did. You said you don't know why politicians don't run on cutting spending and raising taxes, probably because nobody would vote for them. So, what do you think would be a fair tax for these corporations to pay? Out of curiosity,
corporate tax 20%.
20%. What do you think it should be for millionaires and billionaires that are just reeling it in on income tax?
Look, if we actually tax them at a rate, like if we're talking about an effective rate, I would love to see an effective rate for the top 1% that was even over 25%. They're supposed to pay 37. Somehow they usually pay about 3%. They get a 34 point discount. But I would like to see them pay anywhere near their effective rate. I can tell you when I was like, I was never a top 1%, but I was somebody who was paying the top tax rate, and I wrote a check to the federal government at 33% tax rate. At a 33% tax rate, because I didn't have all the abilities to write things off like Elon Musk can. The richer you get, the easier it is to avoid taxes. It's a rigged system. It is rigged for them to continue to make money, and we just can't get to think that if we tax them appropriately, things will go bad. That we had a 90% top marginal tax rate in this country at a rate that would have been, if it was in place today, every dollar over $4 million would be taxed at 90%. And that was the largest our middle class ever was. It was the healthiest our country was. We saw massive growth. We saw massive GDP growth. We had free education for virtually everybody. You could go to college for free or virtually free. You could go to trade school for free or virtually free. And almost any job you had could support a family. And that's when the top marginal tax rate was at 90%. And we haven't come close to that since we introduced trickle-down economics in 1982. You could go look at wealth inequality and see when wealth inequality went from the middle class owning more wealth to the top 1%. And you can see that trend start in 1982. And it just gets worse and worse and worse because the entire system is rigged for rich people.
wealth inequality started in 71 when we came off the gold standard for one, and for two, I
Hold on.
agree with
What
you.
would your
We should get a more
where would you
fair.
cite that? Where would you cite that source? Because everything I've seen, every graph I've ever looked at when we look at wealth inequality starts at around 1982 or 1983. I've never the switch over and the acceleration of the growth, because before 1982, the bottom half actually owned more than the 1%. It switched in about 1982. This gold standard thing has nothing to do with wealth inequality.
The gold standard absolutely does. When we came off the gold standard, wages didn't keep up with production. That's where the actual gap started. Wages no longer stayed with production.
Why?
And we started seeing the production versus wage gap.
Why?
When we came off the gold standard.
Wait, but you're saying wages didn't keep up with production, but what outpaced both wage growth and production?
There's a lot of answers I could give you. I don't know what you want from
the acceleration of CEO pay, for example, the acceleration of dividends, the acceleration of stock buybacks. All of those things accelerated, and you guys want to take that one little part and pretend that's telling the whole story?
No, I would agree. All that stuff accelerated, but that stuff started accelerating when they didn't have to pay wages in line with production. We didn't have to have equality between those.
Well, I agree. I think we should raise them. So you think we should raise the minimum wage to a living wage?
I'd be in favor of that. Yeah, I don't mind that.
All right, I'm cool with that. We found some agreement. Let's pay a living wage.
But
who do you think is more likely to? Who do you think is more likely to pass that?
Who do I think would be in? Truthfully,
I
think that should be left to the states. Honestly, I would not want to see it at a federal level. I'd want to see it at a state level because each economy is different state to state.
Sure, but you'd have to guarantee the right on a federal level first that I agree that each state would have to pay a different wage because cost of living changes, but it would have to be a federal protection.
Because each economy is different state to state.
Living wage?
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay, so why don't we argue for that instead of surplus tax? Why don't we just start advocating for shit that makes sense, that would help middle class and poor people, instead of figuring out ways to reinvent the wheel so that we don't have to tax rich people?
Part of this wheel that you're putting in there is you just tried to say that we paid a 90% business tax. The IRS has came out and said that most corporations did not pay that.
I didn't say that, bud. I said we paid a 90% top marginal tax rate. That's income tax. That has nothing to do with business tax. This is the top marginal tax.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I misspoke. Like I said, I'm still teleporting. Yeah, the IRS has already came out and stated that most people literally did not pay that. And on top of that, you can't even get most people to pay that.
I know the effective rate was around 70%. That's the thing. The effective rate was around 70%. So we had a top. Well, it depends on when you're looking at, right? As we got closer, as we got later into the 70s, the effective rate got down because the rich people started writing in loopholes for themselves. And as soon as we started allowing massive amounts of money in government, and as soon as we allowed lobbyists, and as soon as the rich got their hands on those politicians, they started writing in loopholes and they lowered their effective rate. Which is why, again, we should close those loopholes. Why are we looking at a system that they broke and rigged for themselves, and we're like, well, we can't really take it out on them? Yeah, we should absolutely take it out on them. It was rigged for them.
This is why I'm saying I'm in agreement, but we should do a consumption tax. The 90s would have the 90% we couldn't have ever kept because you can't pay that. The reason central banks were invented is because people started realizing anytime they taxed over 43%, there was revolutions. People refused to give up.
Where was the revolution? Where was the revolution between 1930 and 1982? Where was the revolution
in America?
In the 1930s? Yeah.
We didn't have one in America because people didn't pay 90%. People paid closer to 53.
Well, you said 43. Every percentage over 43. Every time it went over 43, we had a revolution. But we had over 43 for 40 straight years, and there was no revolution.
Okay, I see what you're saying now. Again, right? So the average that people paid at that point in time, people were able to get their effective tax rate down to about 53. And why they paid it, I'm not exactly sure. Okay, because that's honestly 10% more than what we've seen historically. But London started their central banking system because they literally couldn't get people to pay over 43% tax.
Why are we talking about London right now?
To use why are we
talking about London right now?
Via inflation.
Wait, brother, why are you using London right now? We have an example in the United States.
Why are you going outside? You're like, you're trying to
I'm
prove
giving you 3 different examples that showcase that people
okay,
literally
but
just don't
I'm
want to
giving
pay
you
more
one.
taxes than
Okay,
that.
but I'm giving you one in the United States when it didn't lead to revolution. You're trying to prove to me that it led to that it leads to revolution by citing other countries who have different forms of government, different financial situations, different export situations. What we saw in the United States was a massive growth of the middle class due to things like the industrialization, things like steel mills, auto manufacturing. That's where we saw the growth, and we didn't let those people who started the steel mills keep all the money. We forced them to pay their employees living wages with benefits, and we took money that we taxed them and we paid for school so that their kids had good education and so they could go to college affordably. We used to do things with tax money that made sense, and we've become a country where we're just like, let me keep it. I don't want to collectively do any good for anybody. Just let us keep it. And ever since we started letting people keep more of their money, they make worse decisions. And now we are where we are, where we're massively in debt, and we can't convince people that, like, hey, if we're in debt, maybe we should tax the people who have all the money.
In other parts of the world, we've seen revolutions. What do we see in America at that time period? Manufacturing started offshoring. Nobody wanted to stay here anymore. Manufacturing started offshoring. We started doing way more importing.
When did
we started to see 80s. We started seeing them. They were leaving through the 90s. They were leaving through 2000. They were leaving like manufacturing started leaving once
under trickle down economics. Exactly. When we lowered the taxes, and we told these people that we told all these people that were having the manufacturing jobs, they came to us and they're like, hey, charge us less and we'll pay our people more. And we're like, that sounds good. We'll let everybody keep more of their money and you'll trickle that down. And instead of trickling it down, they fired all their workers and sent their manufacturing over to Taiwan and to China where they could do it cheaper because people always choose profits. And so by not taxing them appropriately and forcing them to pay their employees more and giving them an out where they could offshore manufacturing, we allowed them to kill the middle class for profit.
Manufacturing started leaving, let's see, it really actually started. I'm saying it got prominent in the 80s and 90s, but it really started leaving about the 50s? That was about the time manufacturing started leaving?
It was the 70s, like mid to late 70s and then into the 80s. Trickle-down economics was introduced in 1982. And just like you said, we didn't see the massive acceleration until the 80s, until once we had put trickle-down economics in place and all these people started realizing, oh, wait, I can have more money if I just fire all my workers and offshore my manufacturing to China? Yeah, I'll do it. And then they did it. And then we lost the American middle class.
Damn. Well, that didn't go how I thought it was gonna go.
Taxes were at the 90 percentile in the 80s. So my argument that we taxed people a shit ton of money and they started leaving.
No, they weren't. Taxes were not at 90% in the 80s. What are you talking about? Trickle-down economics started in 1982 when we lowered all the tax rates. They weren't in the 90s.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. Yeah, well, I'm sorry. I misspoke way hard there. Sorry. I kept getting a phone call right there. The 90% tax rate was going on during the 60s, right? And I would argue that that's when we started seeing manufacturing leave was late 50s, early 60s.
Well,
and then it got accelerated. And then it got accelerated.
But you would be wrong.
Under Clinton signing NAFTA.
You would be wrong. But you would be wrong because we didn't start seeing an offshoring of manufacturing jobs until like the mid 70s. So you say that because it helps your argument, but you're wrong. That's not true.
Where could I find that?
You could literally. So we opened up trade with China. We opened up trade
under NAFTA.
Brother,
too.
You keep asking me questions and then talking over. Just if you ask a question, wait to hear the answer. We opened up trade with China in the 70s. We opened up that relationship in the 70s. So we sure as shit weren't offshoring jobs in the 50s and the 60s to China when we weren't able to until the 70s.
Okay, where would I be able to see that? Where would I be able to see that manufacturing didn't start leaving in the 60s? That it really started leaving in the 80s?
Yeah, you could just Google offshoring manufacturing jobs by year.
Do you know who keeps a chart of that so I can look it up later on?
Probably Bureau of Labor and Statistics would probably have it. Who's U.S. News and World Report site? They're citing.
Hey, can you guys hear me? Jay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear.
Oh, just so you know, I just took my edible,
I've been high this
so
whole time.
I don't know how the fuck you do it, bro. I can't. So just to let you know.
So I actually got to get out of here about 10 minutes. I'm going to be making it
I
home,
think that's all
but
I
here.
got, because that thing is gonna hit hard.
But here's where I'm lost, right? Is that we can find agreements, okay, that we should probably get people to pay better in taxes. Okay, we can find agreements there. We can find agreements that spending is a problem, right? You're not in favor of a consumption tax, okay, but you are in favor of closing these loopholes.
Wait,
But
I don't hate consumption tax if you're starting from a position of scratch, right? But we're not starting from a position of scratch. We're not starting where everybody's equal. A consumption tax makes sense if you and I and 100 of our friends all go and we start an island together. And then it's like, okay, pay as you go. But we're in a situation where we're $37 trillion in debt and we have massive wealth inequality. So because of the situation we're in right now, a consumption tax is regressive. It would be massively regressive and it wouldn't generate it wouldn't generate enough revenue. Two, it would be very inflationary because the value of the dollar would go down.
well, you say it wouldn't generate enough revenue, right? But we've also discussed the idea that it would be the only thing that could tax the black market, and the black market makes up what, trillions of dollars annually.
You keep
So
saying
I'm
the black
lost on how
market,
you're saying it wouldn't be able to generate revenue. We'd get
brother.
an entire different revenue base.
Brother, I make all of my money off of Cash App, PayPal, and Venmo, and I pay quarterly taxes. I don't know why you think we're not taxing those already. We're already taxing. I get a W-2 at the end of the year. I get income statements from them, and I have to pay
Money do
taxes
you have
on all
to?
of that.
Yeah, if you make over what, I think it's 12,500, right?
Well,
Then
this
you
is
have to
my
pay taxes on it, correct?
yeah. This is my
For the
job. So
average? What about for the average guy who just goes down the street and just fucking
that's a
buys some
tax.
stuff from a guy here and there, and he only spends $500-600 throughout an entire year doing that?
That's a tax loophole. If you want to close it, close it. You act like these things are like set in stone, like we can't change these rules.
Hold on. How do you tax somebody who just walks over and pulls $50 out of the ATM? How do you tax somebody on that?
Nobody
Unless
gets
it's a
taxed for
consumption
taking.
tax.
Nobody gets taxed for pulling money out of an ATM.
You would if it was a consumption tax. What do you?
Well, you want to tax people to take out their own money now?
Hold on.
What the fuck?
God, you're starting to frustrate me a little bit here because you keep
Hold
trying to
on,
like
I'm
make my argument
sorry.
something that it's
I'm
not.
getting high.
If you go and do a large sum transaction, okay, out of a bank, right? Okay,
Yeah.
the money's got to go somewhere. If you can't prove that the money were to go somewhere at that point, it would be considered under the consumption tax. That's how you would tax them.
What?
Like, am I nuts here?
Yes. It seems like it because let's say I take out $10,000 and I take that $10,000 and I drive home and I put it in a shoebox. Are you telling me that I'm going to be taxed on that money?
No, because that would be considered a hard cash savings. Oh my god!
You just said
I wish I
if you
wasn't
couldn't
driving
account
so I
for
could
where
pull
it
up
went.
parts of HR 25 and I could actually go through this with you. I wish I wasn't doing.
I wish you could explain it without having to pull it up. Because these are basic things. Like you don't. I don't think you can really explain the plan. Because you just said that you would tax ATM withdrawals, and then I was like, wait, why would you tax ATM withdrawals? And then you said, no, only large ones. And so then I gave you an example of a large one, and you're like, no, I wouldn't tax that either.
Let me pull apart from HR 25 where it shows on top.
Why do you think it is that HR 25 wouldn't pass? Oh, sorry, I forgot he was looking that up. Wow, man, the consumption tax thing is tough. It's a. When I was a libertarian, I liked consumption tax, but it can't work.
Did you just misspeak right there?
No, I was a libertarian for a while.
Oh, okay.
I went from Republican to libertarian to like libertarian socialist to whatever the hell I am now.
Okay. Oh, okay. Sorry, I had to get back on track there for a sec. The consumption tax would work for things like Venmo, would work for things like ACH transactions. So, and keep in mind, right, the black market doesn't deal in just liquid cash 24/7. A lot of times they deal through things like ACH transactions, Venmo, Cash App. We would be able to tax them on the consumption of that amount of money.
So you want to tax transactions?
And then same thing if you're.
Wait, hold on. I just have a question about that. So is this all transactions or like right now, if I send money to my friend, like I owe him $50, I can send that friends and family, and it's tax free. Are you saying we should tax that
You
too?
owe me more than that.
I'd have to open up the HR 24 or HR
What do you
24 bill
like? Just
again to
your
see,
opinion on this
or
one,
25.
on your.
I think, well, I mean, yeah, I would say at that point in time, I would tax it because I would classify it under consumption. If you bought me drinks all
Wow.
night and then I Venmo'd you at the end of the night, yeah, I would therefore pay taxes on my consumption to you.
So
Now,
now
in the idea
the
of
person
like a
that
birthday money or something, do
so
I
now
think
I
that
go
makes a
out.
whole lot of sense?
So now I go out with my friends, and I'm broke, but I've got an extra $10, and they're like, we're gonna go to Sonic tonight, and I don't actually have the $10. I don't get my check doesn't clear until tomorrow. But my friend's like, dude, I got you. Just Venmo me tomorrow. Now tomorrow, when I Venmo my friend, where he's already paid the consumption tax for my Sonic, now I send him $10. And he's gonna a portion of that's not gonna get to him because there's a consumption tax there too.
I would have to read in the actual stipulations of HR
That's why
25 and see what the value was set for.
Do you
But
see
we're
how
more
this
or less
would
we're more or less talking about bigger transactions. We're not talking about you just casually sending your friend $1,000, you know?
That's why I'm trying to get details, because this sounds an awful lot like it's gonna hurt people who don't have a lot of money, and it's gonna be no big deal for people who do have a lot of money. That's what it sounds like to me. It sounds regressive.
You're welcome to. I mean, I doubt you want to do it right now, but like I said at the start, I am teleporting, so you're welcome to HR 25. But they do have valuations set. They do have thresholds that need to be met. But it would make sense, right?
You know what they
Because
don't have in this bill? What they don't have in this bill is a CBO estimate, and they don't have any evidence that it wouldn't be regressive and explode the deficit.
Do you have any evidence on the prior? I mean, I can agree with you saying that, but do you have any evidence on the other hand?
Yeah, again, unless all of the people, all of the richest people, consume more than what they're currently paying in taxes, and so first we'd have to close the loopholes, which HR 25 doesn't do. It basically doesn't. It gets rid of income taxes, payroll taxes, estate and gift taxes, and it doesn't say anything about any of these other loopholes. So it doesn't look like it's going to close that. So now you're going to have a guy like Elon Musk, who doesn't consume that much and isn't going to pay any income tax, and so he's actually going to pay less in taxes than he's paying now. But everybody else, everybody in the middle class, everybody that goes out and buys milk every day, we're all going to pay more. That's why it's a regressive tax.
Hold on, I'm lost. The black market industry is pretty close to like a $5 trillion industry annually.
I feel like you got to
And
stop
if we had
saying
the
black
opportunity,
market.
if we had the opportunity to tax them, you're telling me that this would be
We do
regressive,
tax
including
them.
the revenue we'd take
Brother,
from that?
I don't know what world you live in. We do tax them. I get all of my money from PayPal and Venmo and Cash App. And the Cash App and Venmo and PayPal take a portion out of every dollar that somebody sends me, and they tax me on it.
We get the bare minimum from them.
I already get taxed on that stuff. It's already legal. In fact, illegal not to tax on those things. So that law already exists. You don't need this new bill for that law to exist.
You're telling me rug dealers pay taxes? Is that what you're saying? Rug dealers pay taxes?
No, but if they are,
You just said we tax them.
But listen, if they are using Venmo and they are using goods and services, then yes, they are being taxed.
So
Venmo doesn't have a loophole like, are you selling drugs?
You're saying.
Yes, and then they don't take your taxes. If people are sending money through Venmo to illicit dealers and they're sending it friends and family, then yeah, they're probably not paying taxes.
Okay, so do you think that we tax them as much as possible currently, or do you think that we barely tax the black market anything at all?
I think we tax. First of all, you got to stop calling it black market, because the black market is stuff that's illicit. This is just financial payment systems. And yes, we tax them appropriate the same way that you would collect sales tax if you were a gas station. Yes, people are being taxed the lawful rate.
How do we tax an ACH transaction that's going to somebody in Mexico? How do we tax that here in America right now?
We don't tax ACH transactions. That's peer to peer. We don't tax peer to peer payments if it's not for goods and services.
How would we tax a Venmo transaction of 20 grand going over to Mexico? If I send it from here in America to somebody in Mexico, do they tax me on that?
They tax the Mexican officials would because the revenue is going to Mexico. You don't get just like when I pay for my meal, right? Like the tax is included, right?
When they bring me money from Mexico and I go and I spend it in a state that doesn't do a sales tax, how do they
Right.
tax me on that money I just made?
On the well, there's no sales tax.
Right. So when I'm saying what we should do is get a national sales tax. That way, if somebody from Mexico brings me
Okay.
a bunch of cash, I pay sales tax on all that cash. So it would
If you
tax all the
sold,
money I just made off
yeah,
the
but
black
if you
market.
sent, but if you buy, like if I buy something in Mexico right now, tax me for unless there's a tariff, in which case then they'll tax me when I pick up my item from Mexico. But yeah,
Right. Right. That's why I asked that at first, is I wanted to make sure we're on the same page. If I send money to Mexico, I don't get taxed on it, right? But when money comes here, if somebody brings me a trunk full of money here from Mexico, how do I get taxed on it? The government has no idea that I have it.
how would you get taxed on that under a consumption tax? The
Yeah, there's a
government would have
national
no
sales.
idea. The
Yeah, there's
government
a
would have
national
no idea.
sales tax.
The
Every
government
time I
would,
go and
if
spend
they bring
it.
it to you in a briefcase, it's the same thing. The government doesn't know. You're setting up a scenario right now where you bring cash and the government doesn't know, but magically under your bill, the government will know about that briefcase of cash.
No. It has nothing to do with the government knowing under a consumption tax.
How
Here
can
in
they
America,
how can they tax
if
it if they don't know about it?
if I live in a state that doesn't have sales taxes and I get a briefcase full of cash, I am
Yeah.
not going to get taxed on that as I spend it because there's no sales tax. Under consumption tax, if I spend a penny of that money that I got, a penny of that money, I will pay sales tax on it. It would literally tax the black market. Any amount of money that is
That's
received
not the
into
black
America,
market.
it would be taxed on.
That's just cash transactions. That's I don't know what to tell you, man.
If
Like
I
all
got a
this,
briefcase
no,
full of
you
money
don't
brought to me from
need
Mexico,
you don't
where
need
else would I
HR.
get that?
You don't need HR 25 for any of this stuff. You could just close all of these. If you any of these things you're mentioning right now, you could do without doing. It has nothing to do with the flat tax. These all could be applied to literally any tax policy. They are not exclusive to a flat tax.
Okay, so if I just close all the loopholes, then if I close all the loopholes and I don't have a consumption tax, right? And I live in a state that doesn't have sales tax, and I get a bunch of money from some rug dealers in Mexico, and I start spending it here, how do they tax me on that?
You don't. And so your solution to that is to have a national sales tax, which you can have without having a flat tax. You're making arguments that aren't exclusive to the thing that you're advocating for. You can have a national sales tax under our current tax policy if you want. You can add national sales tax to any tax policy. It has nothing to do with this HR 25. You could add that to anything. My problem with HR 25 is that a consumption tax is regressive. We've already agreed on that. I don't want a regressive tax.
We have not agreed that it is regressive. We never want to
let's try
agree
that.
on
Let's
that.
try this one more time then. We'll try one more time with this exact example. Let's say that in both HR 25, to make all things equal, in HR 25, there are no loopholes, okay? None. And we take our current tax policy and we eliminate all loopholes, which means the top 1%, let's say somebody makes $1 billion in both of these scenarios. In my scenario, if somebody is paid $1 billion, they will pay $370 million in taxes. Under your system, if somebody makes $1 billion, in order for them to get to the 370 million, they basically would have to spend all of their money.
Most people do. Do you? Well, hold on. Okay, this is a two-part answer.
Billionaires don't. Wait, hold on.
Most people.
You're running away from the scenario. Stay with this scenario and this scenario only. In this scenario, do you think people with $1 billion will consume enough goods to make up the 370 million?
What do you think billionaires do with the money? Do you think they hide it under their
answering
mattress?
this question? Listen, brother, I've been with you for a long time. I've asked you the same question 12 times, and you refuse to answer it. This is a very simple question. No loopholes under both of our systems. Are you saying that somebody who makes $1 billion will consume enough goods to make up for the $370 million in tax revenue that exists under my system?
Yeah, they would make. Yeah, they would do enough good services and investments to do it. Yeah, they would.
Good
Billionaires don't
services?
just. Billionaires
No, we're
just
talking
don't
about tax
fucking.
revenue. Jesus Christ, man. This is so
Yes, they
disingenuous.
would
I'm
spend the
talking
money.
about
Hold on. Yes, they
taxes.
would spend the money. Yeah, they would
Taxes.
spend the money.
Taxes.
Yes,
Tax
yes,
revenue. They'll
yes,
spend $1
yes.
billion.
They would spend the money and get taxed on it. Yes. Do you think
No,
billionaires
no.
just get all this money and hide it under their mattress? No, they spend
Yes.
it. They do it through investments. They do it through services. Name me one billionaire who has fucking hundreds of millions of dollars hidden under their couch. They don't. They invest it. And
It's hidden
investments
in
would come under
banks.
consumption tax. They
It's
would
hidden in
pay
bank.
taxes
Wait,
the
excuse me.
second they
Putting your
invested
money in
it.
a bank would be a consumption tax?
Name me one billionaire who has hundreds of millions of dollars sitting in a bank or under their mattress. They don't. They invest
Why
it.
do you keep doing under the mattress? And again, you've ran away from this entirely.
No, I'm not. You're asking me who would pay more. I'm telling you they would, because one, all their money goes somewhere. Billionaires don't let money sit there and get eaten up by inflation. They would spend it. They would be taxed on it. Yes, they would.
No, they wouldn't.
I gave you
No,
a
they
direct
wouldn't.
answer. They would be
What
taxed.
billionaires do with their money is they hide it. They hide it from taxes. They create tax shelters. They create LLCs. They create foreign investments. They create fake investments. They create VC Ponzi schemes, which is basically our entire economy right now is one giant Ponzi scheme of venture capital, which is why we have all these non-revenue businesses with valuations of like $1 billion that make no money. What they do is they take their money and they park it places where they can't lose it. A consumption tax wouldn't do that. You're telling me
Where
that we're
do they
going
park? They park it in investments, then, right? So we agree that's where they park it is investments. If I invest, does that not fall under consumption tax?
No,
So
what?
if I park my money somewhere, right? So again,
Okay, so then
they would
at
be
that point,
taxed
why?
on it.
Wait, hold on. So then at that point, why have a consumption tax? Why not just do it this way? Let's just say that your scenario. By the way, your scenario is ridiculous and mathematically stupid. But even if it was true, let's just assume that it is true. Then why not just close the loopholes and do what we're doing now?
Well, a couple reasons here. One, you're never going to get the loopholes to be closed. You're better off to vote in literally a new tax system than you are to get these loopholes closed. If they were going to be closed, then they probably would have been closed sometime within the last 50 years. We've never closed them. Nobody ever wants to
That's
close them.
not an argument. That's not an argument. Because in your bill, all of those loopholes would also have to be closed. In order for your scenario to work,
their own fucking partners and stuff and their own lobbyists. Hey, by the way, I'm closing all of your
get rid of
loopholes.
lobbyists.
I can get behind that.
Okay, well, start getting behind people that are advocating for it then. Sure as shit isn't Donald
I can get
Trump.
behind that, but this idea that
Sure
we're
as
going
shit
to somehow
isn't
be able to close
Republicans.
all of these is that's such bullshit.
Excuse me,
Republicans
what? Are trying to shut this down? Republicans are trying to shut down.
Republicans are the ones who put in consumption tax. Republicans are the one who are trying to reform the tax code.
There is no.
HR 25, that was a Republican bill.
HR 25 doesn't close any loopholes.
HR 25 does. These people would have to pay money.
I'm looking at it right now. What loopholes is it closing? I'm looking.
Billionaires would have to be taxed on their spending. So every time they go and park their money, like you just said, right? That's a loophole. They park their money in investments. You agreed to that. That's not a loophole. You just said that they park their money in investment companies and shell companies.
Brother,
you just agreed to that.
Brother,
said that. That was your example.
Mike, this is getting embarrassing for you a little bit, but what I'm telling you is that these loopholes that they're using right now with shell companies and foreign investments, they still exist in HR 25. The HR 25 doesn't get rid of those. So all this shit, shut the fuck up. Let me finish,
Dude,
man.
They can't. It's considered consumption to invest. You're gaslighting, bro.
Man.
What?
I'm trying to answer. I'm actually just trying to answer. So in HR 25, none of these loopholes are closed. None. So these billionaires now, what they'll do with their consumption is instead of consuming anything with their own income, they will just run that all through businesses, right? And that cost will be the cost of the spending that they spend. That gets applied to the whole company. The whole company eats that cost. All the workers wind up eating that cost. Now, the workers, they have a consumption tax. And let's say you're paying these workers $50,000 a year. And those workers, they already pay $0 in taxes effectively. Like half of America effectively pays $0 in taxes. So all of those people who right now don't pay income tax, all of their taxes will be increased on every purchase. And they will be able to afford less. You guys, this is the problem with Republicans in general. You never think about how it affects poor people. You only think about how can we not piss off the rich people. This would be a massive increase for poor people, for middle class people, and it doesn't hurt the billionaires
at all. This only hurts poor people and middle class. And every policy that Donald Trump and the Republicans ever since George Bush, since Ronald Reagan, all you guys ever do is fuck over poor people. That's it. You've never done anything since Ronald Reagan's been in office to help poor people. It's always sometimes they get a benefit, but the rich people get the most benefit. And you're here advocating for the same type of shit where poor people would pay more in taxes, could afford less. But don't worry, guys. In some imaginary world where we magically close loopholes that we don't close in this bill, then it would finally be equal.
Do
All right,
poor
hold
people
on. Pause.
pay?
Pause. All right. We've been beating this horse dead for like ever. You guys want to make your last points? It's 9:25 at night. So let's make your last points. And Admir's probably on a different cloud somewhere. So I'm coming up to wrap it up. Mike, do you want to make your last point?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, probably not a bad idea. I gotta get inside. But it wouldn't tax poor people more. If poor people spend 100% of their income at a 13% consumption rate, that means they pay 13% on taxes. Most middle class Americans pay more than that. So it wouldn't tax them more, for one. And for two, we've already agreed that rich people park their money in investment companies. That was your example that you brought up. Therefore, investing would be a part of consumption, and they would have to pay taxes on that money instead of being able to write it off as an investment like they always do. Three, we'd be able to effectively tax black market transactions or even just cash to cash transactions, not via transactions, but via once they start spending that cash money. And on top of that, too, I don't see us being able to close any of the tax loopholes. I just don't. I agree with you; they should be closed. I think there's a lot of reform we can do. I think going to a consumption tax would make the most amount of sense and equal the playing field, so people could not play as dirty.
That's a remarkable thing to say. I don't think I think, Mike, I think you're a smart guy. I don't think you've listened to a fucking word I've said. 50% of Americans pay zero motherfucking dollars in taxes. So if you put a consumption tax, it's 13%. Their taxes go up by, let me do the math, 0 plus 13. They go up 13%. You are advocating for a tax increase on the middle class. And again, I'm looking at the bill that you're not looking at. It doesn't close any loopholes. In fact, it eliminates taxes for like the estate tax. It eliminates gift taxes, money that you hand down to your kids. It repeals those taxes. It takes them away. It also repeals payroll taxes and it repeals income taxes entirely. So because there is no income tax, and because now it's a consumption tax, and you can, if you have a business, you can offload all of your consumption tax onto your business, which means that your bottom line takes a hit, which means you pay employees less, which means you pay worse benefits, which means maybe you pay less in dividends. But what you're not going to do is pay more in taxes. There's no scenario where anybody in this bill pays more taxes except for people right now who can't afford to pay more taxes. And those people would get a 13% increase in their taxes. We've got to stop. At some point in America, we have to stop bootlicking these billionaires and pretending that they are providing a service. They are welfare recipients. They leech off of the government dime, and you guys want poor people to pay for that so that we don't have to demonize rich people anymore.
All right, gentlemen, that was fun. Go to bed.
Well, I'll
You're a
be here next
mess.
time. Yeah, man, it was good. It was good talking to you. I can agree with you on the problem. I just, next time maybe we can talk about the solution more. But I do agree with you on where the problem starts. You guys do this every Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sweet, man. I'll be up next Tuesday then when I'm actually home and I'm not coming home from a meeting, and I'll be able to pull sources and graphs and things like that and site spots. But yeah, dude, to each their own, man. I agree with you on the problem. At least we can decide what the problem is.
All right. Well,
it's good talking.
All right. Admir's giggling, so I'm gonna kick you guys out. Bye.
Together, Admir. All right. Thanks, John.
Bye, Admir. Good night.
I can't. Okay, I'm gonna try to.
You're a mess.
God bless it, man. Oh my God, this is. Hey, Jim, can you shut the light down? Oh, damn it. What the fuck?